Welcome to the Adriatic coast of Italy for the third round of the Blancpain GT Series Sprint Cup, to be held this weekend at the Misano World Circuit. Last time out at Brands Hatch it was very tight at the front, but Fred Vervish got a fantastic start from the front of the grid, chased by Raffaele Marciello. But look, the Mercedes driver got it very wrong going through Paddock Hill Bend into the gravel, and luckily back onto the circuit. And with a packed field of cars, there's often trouble at Druids. This time, unfortunately for Team Parker Racing, both of its Bentleys were taken out in a chain reaction. This is the view as seen from Will Stevens' Audi, and it certainly was very, very busy indeed at the top of the hill. Up front, though, it was all very tidy indeed as Fred Vervish led onto the full Grand Prix loop. Fantastic stretch of circuit. Mirko Bortolotti having to be very defensive indeed. Push hard out front, though, it was Vervish doing his all to keep Christopher Mies behind him. It certainly was very tight indeed. Sometimes a little bit loose over the curbs on the tricky Grand Prix loop. Of the front runners, Christopher Mies was the first to blink, and the pit stop wasn't quite as sharp as normal from the Team WRT crew. Teammate Vervish came in from the lead. Very spectacular departure, and it turns out this was just marginally faster. As you'll see when he returns to the track, he's just in front, but Mies has already got a lap's heat into his tyres. Made a bid as they ran up to Druids, but it was all covered off. The 17 Audi stayed at the front of the race. Coming into the pits, the Marciello got a little bit too tight, clipped the pit wall. That certainly didn't help. Very tight behind, and Loris Hazeman's Lamborghini being pushed a little wide, and going wide was the order of the day. Car in second place, that number 1 Audi pushing so hard, with Riberas trying everything, using a lot of track. The Pro-Am battle is super tight as well. But up front though, Leonard built on the lead he was given by Fred Vervish, and that was good enough to take the victory. Home victory for Leonard, great delight, and a 1-2 from the WRT Audi team. So plenty of smiles all around. The racing is never over until the checkered flag, and the 63 Lamborghini was pushing so hard, had to make do with 5th place. It was all Audis though, up on the podium. Alex Riberas and Christopher Mies, they come to Misano World Circuit with 2 second places under their belt, but they're desperate to take that first win of the year, and they really look a very, very strong pairing indeed. They also took a 3rd place in the opening round at Zolder, so they're very much one of the form teams.
I'm feeling very comfortable, and with the team, very confident with my teammate, with Chris. I feel like we've done great so far in the Blancpain sprint. Obviously, in our last Blancpain endurance round, wasn't that good. We had this technical issue, but you know, the entire team kept together. We have a very good team spirit, and I feel like our momentum is still there, and we're gonna go for it this weekend in Misano and try to have a good one.
New to the Blancpain Sprint Cup in 2018 is the Lexus RCF, presented by Emil Frey Lexus Racing. Being new to the championship, they're also new to the Misano World Circuit, so there is plenty to learn for its pair of drivers, Christian Klein and Albert Costa, as they look to make the RCF as competitive as possible.
It's a new track for Lexus. It's a new track for me and Christian. I already did 7 laps under the rain with the Jaguar at the beginning of the season. But yeah, we start from zero. It's going to be difficult also because today it looks like it's going to be raining and tomorrow it's dry. So theoretically we go straight away to qualifying on the slick tires, where we're gonna train on the rain. So it's going to be a smart weekend for us. But yeah, positive because the car looks fast, but we will see.
Lamborghinis are always immensely popular on home ground in Italy, so this weekend extra pressure on the shoulders of Ezequiel Perez Companc and his teammate Andrea Caldarelli, looking to shine on Italian soil.
Well, actually, I don't race here since 8 years, so I can say it's my home track, but I don't remember really well. But I'm really happy to be here because I really like this track. I think it's going to be a really tough race for us. It was in the last race, but we found something really nice in terms of setup in the last few races, so I'm pretty confident about the race result.
In the Pro-Am category, it's been a fantastic season so far for the TP12 Kessel Racing Ferrari, with Carlo Van Dam and Piti Bhirombhakdi picking up 3 wins out of the 4 races so far. They really are in the hunt as they arrive here at Misano. Let's see what the Thai driver can manage as he continues his pursuit of glory.
After the first race this year, I think we have a lot of confidence. My driving, my teammates driving, and everything have been improved from last year a lot. And I think we are in the good pace and in good level of keeping the leading. And I think we're going to do well on this race.
The green and orange 63 Lamborghini from the Grassa Racing team won the opening race of the championship. Zolder in the hands of Christian Engelhardt and Mirko Bortolotti. Hasn't had a win since, so Bortolotti is champing at the bit.
It's definitely good to be back here in Misano. It's always special to be here with the Blancpain GT Series. I've scored my first ever Blancpain GT Series podium on this track back in 2015. But the last win is already 10 years back in Italian Formula 3 in 2008. So it's time to go for a big trophy this weekend, and hopefully we can do it. Yeah, the relationship with Christian is quite good. I mean, we're working our third season together, second season as teammates on the same car. We've had a good journey together. We're sharing a lot of time, and yeah, we're doing both the best we can to get the 63 Lambo where it deserves and where it belongs. So we're looking forward to it and to get the maximum.
Tempto Racing's shift to Audi this year has already yielded a win for Kelvin van der Linde and Stijn Schothorst. They're looking for more.
We want to keep the momentum going, and the lineup is strong, the team is strong, the car is strong. I think also on this track the Audi will do well. So I'm confident we will do a good job anyway, and I'm confident in myself as well, even though I don't know the track. I'm certainly happy to be here, I'm enjoying it a lot. Driving a car that's suddenly 2 or 3 times the weight of a Formula car is a bit different. This takes some getting used to, but it's good, I like it.
It's 2 podium visits, but no wins as yet for Raffaele Marciello. Will that change at Misano?
It's a good track for us. Last year we had a good race here, so I expect to have a good weekend. Audi is quite strong always, but we will fight and we will see where we are. We are quite experienced. We know the track from the past years. Every time you go in a track, it's almost like last year, so you know what you expect. You just have to push. Pay attention to the penalties, and yeah, hope to be a bit lucky, and we'll see.
Another ACA ASP Mercedes is entered for a pairing that are going really well in the Silver Cup standings this year. Jack Manchester and Nico Bastian have been right in the hunt at every round. We expect them to go for gold again this weekend as they seek glory.
At the beginning of the season, the target was just to get Czech into the racing series, but then we started with 5 podiums in the very 5 first races, so it was awesome. Now it's getting more and more competitive here in the Silver Cup. So now let's see here in Misano how we can start the second half of the season, because this will be very important for sure.
It's a beautiful, bright, sunny evening at the Misano World Circuit for the first of 2 races at the Adriatic coastline for the Blancpain GT Series Sprint Cup, and we've got a fantastic grid of cars in this early evening sunlight. Now look how tight it is at the top of the Sprint Cup points. Stuart Leonard in the 17 Audi, his teammate Fred Verbich is down 7th because he missed one of the races, but 37 plays 35.5. Audi's featuring very well with Kelvin van der Linde and Stijn Schothorst in theirs in 2nd place. Alex Riberas and Christopher Mees, don't forget they're on the outside of the front row. They're 3rd in the championship, so this is a good chance for them. But right behind them, Marciello and Meadows in the championship and the same on the grid. So it is very tight indeed. Expect to see considerable change of position after this 1-hour race this evening. But Stuart Leonard, for now, in the number 17 Audi, leads the way, but he's starting slightly down the grid. In fact, a long way down the grid, sharing with Sheldon van der Linde this weekend in the 9th row. So don't expect a lot of points for our championship leader. So a big opportunity for all those ahead of him. So let's take another look at the grid. We've got Nico Jaman and Paul, Alex Riberas alongside. Then Nico Bastian and Michael Meadows form row 2. Norbert Siedler, Ezekiel Perez Compact. Great mix of cars as we expect in the Blancpain races on the first few rows of the grid. And the second of the Lexus is started by Albert Costa behind Will Stevens, who I fancy would have a better race than he did last year when he was removed very early on as the race went into the dark. Christian Engelhardt will be starting from 9th on the grid, and Alex Fontana in the Jaguar. So carry on looking the way down the grid. Second half of the grid with a few runners who ought to be much further forward, and that's dint of the huge amount of rain we had, costing a lot of practice time last night. Tropical, torrential rain here, but now conditions have been absolutely perfect throughout today. We're looking at the penultimate row of the grid, Andrew Watson and Pete Biron Bakhti, Pro-Am class leader, and then the final row, the Audi of Neil Stevenard and Josh Cagill in his Bentley. So round turn 16, the final corner, the lights are green, and it's a very good start from the poleman Nico Jaman. So the chance of the number 1 Audi sticking its nose around the outside, as John pointed out before, it could break later. The Audi is on the outside line, but not sufficiently close to get his nose up on the inside into turn 2. So the first 3, 4, 5 cars very nicely through the first few corners. Have we contact behind? I think we had a car. I just want to have a look back. Looks like it was a Lamborghini that might have gone round in the background, trying to account for all of them. No, I can see 3 green Lamborghinis going, so clearly my eyesight has gone wrong, but very tidy up through the first few handful of turns. But fantastic start from our pole start to Nico Jamin. He just reduced the danger, the likelihood of being passed. And we've got someone running very, very wide indeed out of turn 6 through the kink at 7. They'll come into view of our commentary box, and going backwards, Ezekiel Perez Compact. Going forwards is the orange-nosed Lamborghini, up several places for Christian Engelhardt.
But also going back is the 88 Mercedes, the car Michael Meadows behind the wheel. That was one of the two cars that I felt really needed to do something to try and get itself further up the field. As they come through, this is the long sequence of turn 9, 10, then onto the back straight for the first time. 63 Lamborghini, Christian Engelhardt behind the wheel. He was one of the drivers making a manoeuvre out of turn 6.
Yeah, Meadows has lost one position. There's an Audi at the very back of the field that's lost ground. On the grey Audis, I'll try and pick out which one that is. That's off the back of the train, and it really is a train. 21 cars, almost nose to tail, but the pole man has got 2 or 3 car lengths advantage. But look at the 63 Lamborghini jinking this way, going that way, up from 9th on the grid. Christian Engelhardt is pushing very hard for 5th place, and it looks like it's one of the Sansalot cars. Notice that was second last. The car that's last is only just coming into the background, so it's been a problem for 2 of the Audis. No such problems for the number 1 Audi, but that's in 2nd place. Didn't make a move on the pole starter. Very, very good start indeed from Nico Jamin. His lead a whisker under a second at the end of the opening lap.
Well, Nico Jamin did all that he needed to do to put that car into the lead past the 2nd and 3rd sectors, so that's indicating where he picked up that virtual 1 second advantage over 2nd place Alex Riberas. He was doing a lot of braking, basically coming up on the formation. That didn't do him any good as he got into turn 1. A squeeze on the 19 Lamborghini. The Lexus trying to get up the inside, and that's not an easy place to do it. Out of turn 4, then into 5 and 6. So caution required. The Lexus in the lower speed corners, as you heard Christian Klein say, not quite as nimble as it was in the higher speed curves, where it was a lot more the aerodynamic of the car would have an influence.
Let's take a replay of the start. Nose in front very nicely. Chris Reese not able to challenge. Sorry, Alex Riberas not able to challenge, but that's the car I saw going wide, the 82. I said one of the Lamborghinis had gone wide, and that was the one that got pushed out. Loris Hazemans rejoined the pack right next to a number of his other rivals, but it was the 63 Lamborghini making the moves in the early sector of the race, and this is where you can see Michael Meadows being cut around. He fell from 4th back to 5th, and then suddenly a lot of pressure from behind as well, and this unfortunately was the number 25 Sansalot Racing Audi pulling over and out on the opening lap of the race after contact.
Bit of action in the back of the field, the BMW. Andrew Watson having to defend, going a little bit left, a little bit right, a little bit in the middle, a little bit wherever there's a bit of tarmac, to be honest.
Yeah, well, in fact, he's just gained a position. In fact, I think Peter Birambakti has dropped a couple of places. So Andrew Watson, running in the Silver Cup, has got his BMW. Don't forget, in the Endurance Cup, he had a fantastic race. He's driving the McLaren in the Endurance Cup, and really shot at Paul Ricard. So Piti Birambakti, the yellow and blue Ferrari, has lost ground, and certainly been promotion there for number 26 as well, moving forward the Audi.
Stop!
Oh, the leader's pulled to the side of the track and stopped. What was going on there? So, suddenly, under no pressure at all, have been leading by a handful of seconds, and suddenly tumbled down the order. So, oh, dearie me, looking on from the side of the circuit, Dennis Bulatov, we were looking at the Acker garage, and we were thinking, what has happened to my car? That was the one that wasn't under pressure. That was the one that made such a brilliant start. So the new leader of the race is the number 1 Audi, Alex Riberas. Nico Bastian has moved up into 2nd place, so Jack Manchester will be hopping from foot to foot in his garage as he looks on as well. But here is our new race leader, 1 on the door, 0-0, 1 on the windscreen. What happened to cause that 87 Mercedes to stop? So let's go down and hear from the co-driver, Dennis Bulatov, of the car that retired from the lead.
Dennis, what happened?
Actually, no idea. The car just stopped on the straight line. We think it's a mechanical issue, but we don't know. I think we find out quite soon, but it's a sad thing because we were like first, and Nico was making a good gap, but I don't know, unfortunately.
Well, Dennis, as soon as you know, you're going to tell me, and I'm going to feed it back to the people.
Full course yellow procedure now. Due to a car stopped in the straight line, we will try to recover the car as soon as possible and restart.
So you heard there from the race director, full course yellow. That car has to be removed. It's parked on the halfway down the start-finish straight.
Green flag.
Under
Green
investigation
flag.
now. The very quick restart. Very, very quick indeed. And Nico Bastian really read it very, very well. He's right on the tail of the race leader, Riberas. And tucking in behind is Norbert Siedler. Norbert swings out, trying to go around the outside is Bastian, but it looks like it's very well covered by Alex Riberas through turn 1. He's got it nice and tidy for turn 2. Be a tighter exit for the Mercedes. But it looks like it's been that is a drive of experience. But he's left the door wide open. He's braked too late. He's run wide. What was going on there? Was that a face full of sunshine?
I don't know whether it was simply he just didn't have the grip on the tyres. He was a very big full course yellow. But there was one thing clear, Nico Bastian was absolutely on it. He knew what he had to do once the track went green. And you could see as they came out of turn 16, he was already pushing hard, looking to try and get the lead into turn 1. Alex Ribero's just ran wide, coming out of the from turn 1, 2 into turn 3 complex. And that just an open door for the lead Mercedes now.
Now the Lexus will be making a push as well. We're riding on board with the number 14 Lexus down low. Gosh, now you can see what the sun is like when it shines in the drivers' faces. What a fantastic shot. That's sweeping through turn 9, and then they get clarity as they come out of turn 10 and accelerate. Some of them on the track or near the track, just going over the curves a little bit, kicking up the dust. So race leader now, Nico Bastian. Second place, I thought he'd done enough through turns 1 and 2, but sliding wide, Alex Ribero's lost it at turn 3. And certainly Nico Bastian needed no further asking.
They're coming down to these sequence of corners up the inside. Who is that? That's one of the...
That's Costa.
No, there's an Audi we just got past now. We're getting blinded by the...
Totally.
So there's the Audi running very slowly, very wide. So that
Which Audi is it though?
That may
it's
be
not number 1, is it?
No, it's not.
No, it's number 2. Oh, it's Will Stevens. He's coming in. That's not a standard pit stop. So Vincent Vos, that was the car that was challenging in 5th place, looking very well, really getting onto the tail of Michael Meadows. So what you win with one hand, you seem to lose with another. So those behind, these 2 Lamborghinis and Albert Costa in the number 14 Lexus, all gone up in position. Now it's getting really, really close as Costa pushes Perez compact yet again.
Now what was that, a puncture possibly for Will Stevens? Because it looks like it's just going to be an in and out, so maybe.
Let's have a look at yet another attack by Albert Costa in the 14 Lexus, bouncing over the curbs and what we call beyond. Oh, having to straighten it up a bit. Tail wanted to go around on the Costa Lexus, but he hasn't backed off at all. Now, riding on board with Michael Meadows, I sense in the last few laps he's starting to come back at Norbert Siedler. There's just under a second between them. So the 88 Mercedes starting to come a bit good, turning out of turn 10 to accelerate down the kink back straight. Turn 11, there's a little kink to the right, there's a further kink at turn 12, but you must say, looking at the gap between those two cars, it's exactly the same as they accelerate down through Curve Own there.
17 Stuart Leonard is in first of the cars to make the pit stop. Second and third place into the pit lane, 4th place, 5th place. So all of a sudden we get a tranche of cars all making their way down the pit lane.
There's the WRT car, the numbers rising on the windscreen, the positional, because other cars going past on the circuit not making their pit stops. It's in, it's out, it's in, it's driver change, it's out.
So the number 1 Audi comes to a standstill. It's the furthest team in the pit lane, so they trundle down at 80 kilometers per hour, and then they're able to get on it pretty quickly. So this is where the choreography of these pit stops, and particularly with the WRT team, which we know, but the 88 is rolling. Raffaele Marciello is rolling down the pit lane, and they gets ahead, maintains that position because the 63 Mirko Bortolotti Mercedes, as the number 1 Audi, gets rolling as well. But the 63 right on the tail of Mirko Bortolotti, the tail of Raffaele Marciello.
Yeah, he gained ground, but not position, so it was very, very tight indeed, but so close to doing so. Almost pushing it out of the pit lane. They have to wait to get to the white line before they can floor the throttle, still on the speed limiter. Curving exit from the pit lane, that's very good reason. Almost a kink to add to the curve, and now you can hear the engines really getting going again. So Marciello, what can he do? Don't forget that car was in 4th place in the hands of Michael Meadows.
Just watching,
but it's still just a risk for Bastian, but Bastian isn't prepared to. Getting very close out on the circuit. That haven't seen so much of the SMP racing.
Well, that's down for 14th and 15th position.
Mercedes, that's the one shared by Vladimir Atoev and should be now in the hands of Alexei Korniev. But again, for the drivers hopping in, they have to get used to the sun shining very low in their faces. The other drivers have become accustomed to it through the first half of the race, past the halfway point.
There's the race leader now getting in with just under 55 seconds. So it was a good call in the end. But we will now see what happens when Jack Manchester jumps in, the much taller driver who actually uses pretty much the seat position of Nico Bastian, whereas a tall driver would normally have the seat, or the short driver would have a seat insert, which he would take out, and the tall driver would then get into the seat without the insert and hopefully manage to do what he can.
Well, this is a massive moment for Jack Manchester. He's had 11th, the 10th and the 15th, but here he is potentially en route to his maiden win. A lot of weight on his shoulders, 25 minutes remaining, and he's being chased by Christopher Mies in the number 1 Audi, the car coming close to his tail. But don't forget, before the pit stops, the gap was 3.4 seconds. Nico Bastian had a handful of laps after that. Keep under the speed limit, Jack Manchester. When you're new to a championship, new to a category of racing, it's very easy to make a slip up. Christopher Mies sweeping through turn 15. It is the car in second place. You'll see in the background of the shot, Christopher Mies coming onto the start-finish straight as Jack Manchester seems to be walking, rolling out of pit exit, but he'll come out at the entrance to turn 3, whereas the number 1 Audi is at the entrance of turn 1.
Yes, but the difference is that Christopher Mies has been out for a number of laps. He's got the momentum, there's a feel, where is the Mercedes? Still there now. So it has in effect gone from the lead into what I would consider to be third place, and Mirko Bortolotti is not going to be a million miles. There he comes into view now in the Lamborghini. So Jack Manchester has now got to adapt to different lighting conditions to any that he probably, well, what we had on Friday night was probably overcast and dark. We didn't have this bright sunshine, so he's happy to make that adjustment. Vincent Valls, Thierry Tassin working out what's going to happen once these pit stops have been played through.
You can see how Bortolotti fancies that third place. It's still in the hands of Jack Manchester, only just getting into his stride here. We saw that little mistake last time around at turn 15. He's got to keep it super clean. Look at the body language of Bortolotti at the Lamborghini.
Yeah, I mean, again, Mirko Bortolotti knows full well where the car has got its strengths, and he knows that he might, if he can stay close to the tail of the Mercedes, force the Mercedes to take the inside line. He's going for the long way around, but I don't think he's going to have enough pace to get ahead. So now advantage back to Jack Manchester. Slow the Lamborghini down. He can't pass you here, but watch here on the exit of turn 3. That's where Mirko Bortolotti might try and make a move. He's going to make the undercut slide up the inside. No. Still pit stop for car 19. Under investigation. Meanwhile, Mirko Bortolotti giving Jack Manchester the working out of his career, I would imagine.
Certainly is. If you go now, no further action. No sooner we announced it than they decided all was okay. There was no misdemeanor for the 19 Lamborghini. Sit in the background of the shot, but the Lamborghini we're looking at now is 63 up ahead. He's got to surely make him track. Trying to go around the outside of turn 8. Doesn't quite work at the start of turn 8, but it does by the time they get up to turn 9. It really was a question of when, not if, unfortunately for Jack Manchester. But if he can hang in, he'll have a masterclass as he looks at Mirko Bortolotti around the Misano World Circuit.
After investigation, the pit stop of car 63 is not an unsafe release, so no penalty.
Okay, we've just heard clarification from race director. No penalty. It was not judged an unsafe release for 63. So happiness at that. Happiness at the fact that the Lamborghinis are fighting so hard. Caldarelli has got past Stefan Ortelli. So it's been the story of this race has been Mercedes at the front, but just fantastic battling between the Lexuses and the Lamborghinis. And the advantage is swinging the way of the Lamborghini crews, not just because they've been cleared of any pit stop irregularities, but they're finding their pace out on the circuit. Jack Manchester now coming under pressure from Caldarelli. I do feel this is going to be the next overtaking manoeuvre. I think we'll see the 19 Lamborghini, as you can see, being taking seconds off Manchester. No disrespect to Manchester, he's learning his craft at this level, but Caldarelli been doing it for many, many years. Yeah, and textbook performance.
Yeah, and all through turn 3, you could see that Jack Manchester was stepping aside. He's not involved in these battles. These are pro battles going on. This is the lead car in his category.
Yeah, the lead car in the Silver Cup class.
So it just, I mean, let these pro cars go. You're fighting for your own championship within this race. Whether you finish first, second, third, or fourth, it's points in your own particular category that is important.
Now, very, very tidy pit stop. This is a masterclass. John, you talked of choreography. Alex Riberas hopping out, Christopher Mies hopping in, but look at the way the WRT team works on its pit stops. They don't do this without practicing, you know.
Lamborghini 82.
Well, that was
that's disappointment.
Yeah, well, that was the least well-placed car of the Lamborghini trio, and unfortunately, Hazelman's got it up to 8th place. Now he's got it going again, but that's just limp-in mode, I'm afraid. So hopefully that will stay to the side of the circuit. So very unlucky indeed. Loris Hazelman. In fact, that was Frank Pereira at the wheel. They hadn't flipped it over. Several of the cars have been warned for wrong driver ID on the timing screen.
Just watching the amount of racetrack on the exit of turn 8 that Christopher Mies is using in the Audi, and how much less of the racetrack the 88 Mercedes Raffaele Marciello is having to use. And it is the back of the Audi that I think Christopher Mies is having to control, because that will be his limitation. That will restrict him from being able to push maybe that little bit harder, to give him that little bit of comfort zone as we look at the 82 Lamborghini limping its way down the back straight.
Something I want to throw into the mix as we look at this lead battle. We can see it's very tight. It's 0.685 of a second, so it is continuing to come down. But then with the superior handling at this stage in the race, there's Michael Meadows. Oh, it's dreadful when you're the driver who can do no more. You're the driver who's out of the car. Jack Manchester hanging on to lead the Silver Cup class into the final 3 minutes of the race. Is Michael Grenier. Has he got one more shot in his cabinet. He's gained about 15 seconds in the course of this second stint on Jack Manchester. Jack let the front runners through. He wasn't going for pro honours, he's going for the Silver Cup honours if he possibly can, the special class for the younger drivers. He's doing a very good job so far, but he's got to weather another 2 and a bit minutes. Sun in his face, a circuit he's never appeared on before. A lot to learn, and he seems to be doing a very good job, but he can see there is no gap between them now. 2 and a bit minutes remaining, and Michael Grenier trying to sweep around the outside into turn 1. Has he managed to do it? Yes, he's not through turn 1, but into turn 2. If he keeps his nose, there will be contact. I think there possibly was a tiny bit, but Jack Manchester fighting back because turn 3 goes to the right, and he was on that part of the circuit. But what we've seen many times, the driver will dive up the inside into turn 4, top of the slope, and then try to dive and make it work. It hasn't worked this time. He'll have at least 1 more opportunity, maybe 2. So he's going to keep on keeping on. See if Emil Frey Racing will be smiling for the Jaguar as well as for their Lexuses in this race. Trying to make Manchester not know where he's coming from, and very bold dive up the inside, but surely too late on the brakes into turn 8. Oh yes, he was. That wasn't sun in the eyes. That was opportunities knocked, and I think that's given a big enough lead now for Jack Manchester to protect it for the rest of the race. It looked for a fleeting moment as though, he'd blown the Silver Cup honours in the closing laps, but no, he hadn't. He was wise. He did his braking, whereas Michael Grenier in the Jaguar just got that little bit too excited. Well, the clock has nearly ticked to the top of the hour. 1 hour completed right now, and this is the final lap. They will complete the race on this lap, and it's Christopher Mies building on the work by Alex Riberas, who started and through turn 15 and 16. 16 is the final corner, out over the curbs. There's nothing that Raffaele Marciello can do. And victory goes to the number 1 Audi. So delight in the WRT camp. Vincent Voss, Patrick Tombé, another one for their many, many wins. Huge cabinet waiting for the 3rd place car coming through the final corner. Here it is, 63, Mirko Bortolotti. Christian Engelhardt started the race. Mirko Bortolotti rose up the order. And there should be a Lamborghini not so far behind. Yes, there is the 19 car with Andrea Caldarelli. He worked his way up through a few positions, and the Silver Cup honours, it does look as though it's just going to go to the car that's going to be finished in 6th place. Jack Manchester, final sequence of corners. He's still got that 90 Mercedes in ahead of the 54 Jaguar. Surely not a challenge into turn 16, the final corner. Keep it neat, keep it tidy, not too much over the curb. So a first Silver Cup victory for Jack Manchester, building on the work of Nico Bastian. Wait, breathe, 2-3, and applause there from Nico. Great stint, leading the race overall. Checkered flag waving for the finishers, and still they come in pairs, 2s and 3s. But it was victory for Christopher Mies and Alex Riberas. John Watson's quickly down, and he's joined the race winner, Christopher Mies, the number 1 Audi.
Christopher, how satisfying was your stint then?
It was hard. It was really hard, with the pressure from Marcello. He's a really, really, really good guy who actually should be in Formula 1. But I think Blancpain can be lucky that this guy is here in this championship. It was hard, it looked easy, but it wasn't. I can tell the pressure from behind to not do any mistake is pretty hard. Alex did a good job. The pit stop was fantastic. We lost a bit of time because Alex forgot to plug this belt in, so I had to do it myself. So we lost probably 2-3 seconds there. But anyway, we came out P1, and this is all what matters.
Well, in spite of all that, your pit stop was still 2 seconds quicker than the 88 Mercedes, but it looked like you were really, I thought you were struggling for rear end grip because the Mercedes was all over you, but didn't have enough to pass.
Well, the car was really, really good in the beginning, and then it dropped like after lap 5-6, like had a lot of slide in the rear. It was hard to manage, but then we just have a plan for that, so we took the plan and managed the gap.
Really good job, well done.
Thank you.
But there's the result, 0.6 of a second clear. The number 1 Audi just beating that 88 challenger from the ACA ASP Mercedes camp. Raffaele Marciello chasing Christopher Mies to the flag, and Mirko Bortolotti building on the work of Christian Engelhardt some way back, 16 seconds further back, but importantly ahead of the sister car with Andrea Caldarelli. Stefan Ortelli and Norbert Siedler showed very well in the 114 Lexus, having to make do with 5th place, but they're really getting in the mix. And Jack Manchester and Nico Bastian winning the Silver Cup class, but by only a fraction of a second from Michael Grenier in the Emil Frey Racing Jaguar that had been started by Alex Fontana. Great run for the 17 Audi, up from the 9th row to 8th overall. Sheldon van der Linde bringing it home, not so far behind those battling Silver Cup cars. What a great race it was here. We've got another one tomorrow. It's going to be enjoyed by me, Bruce Jones, and John Watson. Do watch. The sun is shining for a second day running at the Misano World Circuit, race 2 of round 3 of the Blancpain GT Sprint Series. And if we have half as much action as we had yesterday, we'll have a fantastic race. Certainly this circuit, with the 16 turns knitted into its lap, has plenty of opportunity for racing and for passing. Track temperature 29.5 degrees, air temperature 28.3. There is a bit of a breeze. It feels hotter than yesterday. Don't forget, yesterday's race was in the early evening. This will be far, far different when it comes to tyre control through the course of this 1 hour race. Certainly the drivers are really going to have to give that a fair bit of consideration. As you can see, a very twisty circuit running in a clockwise direction. The first part of the lap very tight, then it opens out, and then if you get a good exit out of turn 10, which is towards the end of the green sector, you've got that long sweeping run down to the final corner. But John Watson is already straight down to the grid, and he is on the front row with Lamborghini racer Frank Pereira with John Watson.
Frank, front row of the grid, but which side of the grid is giving you an advantage into turn 1?
I don't know, it's first of all, it's really great to be back in the front. It's been quite a difficult year for us, but now I think it gets better, and I will try to get P1 at the first corner, but we will try, we'll see.
Lawrence, you're going to take over from Frank. What would you like him to give you when he hands the car over?
Well, ideally P1 and 20 seconds ahead, so then my job is done. I just have to...
That's not too much, is it?
Oh, exactly, so that would be the ideal scenario.
Look forward to it. Just standing beside father of Lawrence Hazeman's number 2 son, any advice for him today?
Well, he has to keep the car on the podium track, that's all.
Think smart, not fast.
The other way around, like Max, you mean.
Thank you.
Toyn Hazeman's great touring car racer, referring there to Max Verstappen, fellow Dutch racer, obviously competing at Paul Ricard in the French Grand Prix today. But great to have Frank Pereira, and I think his 5th manufacturer in the past 5 years, right at the sharp end, outside of the front row in that green 82 Lamborghini from the Grasser Racing team squad. They've had a bit of a mixed season so far, but Frank Pereira here at Misano, we've seen him perform wonders here in previous years, so look forward to seeing whether he can get into the lead on the run to the first corner. But John has just moved across to speak with Will Stevens, who'll be starting the number 2 Audi from the outside of row 3.
Well, huge disappointment yesterday. Explain what happened.
We just had a wheel nut come loose on the rear left, so yeah, frustrating because we were in a good position, and we know after the pit stops we would have come out hopefully in the top 3 for sure. So yeah, disappointing, points lost, but we try and make up for it today.
Good news is, have you got 2 new sets of tyres?
No.
How many?
None.
None?
Everyone uses 2 for Q1, 2 for Q2.
Dries, very exciting spin in qualifying the other day.
Yeah, I did not see that coming. Yeah, just lost it out of nowhere and couldn't catch it. I was lucky to not hit the wall, but then my tires were destroyed, let's put it that way. But yeah, we still have good tires for the race, so let's see what we can do. We're not far, but also not close, so will be some overtaking to do, but that's the fun part of our job.
So where are you going to overtake? It's tough here at Misano.
It is tough, but there are a few spots, turn 8, turn 10. There are a few opportunities where you can try and overtake. Maybe it's not always the smoothest way, but as long as it's fair and square, it's good. So we'll try and see where we can end up.
Thank you.
So that was Will Stevens first, and then Dries van Tor. Dries didn't get to race yesterday because unfortunately the car was retired just before he could take it over. So he'll be like a caged tiger waiting to pounce. Released the 88 Mercedes, starting from pole position. It should have had pole for yesterday's first race, but a misdemeanor running caused it to be put back to 4th. Raffaele Marcello, yesterday he was the 2nd driver in the car, taking over from Michael Meadows, and today he's starting from pole position. And don't forget, at the end of the race, he closed to within 2/3 of a second of the race-winning number 1 Audi, and he certainly wants to take a top spot here this afternoon. Plenty of pace from the ACA ASP car, but so far the best results are the 2nd place in the opening round at Zolder and the 2nd place yesterday. But John's moving fast around the grid, and he's moved across the other side of row 3 to join Attempter Racing's Kelvin van der Linde.
Kevin, disappointment yesterday, tyre problem?
Yeah, we had unfortunately a bit of debris that caused a puncture on the left rear. Unfortunate because we're really working our way nicely into the points after a tricky qualifying, so we hope to capitalize on the good starting place today.
So what, in reality, can you do? You're back in the third row of the grid.
Yeah, I mean, it's always difficult. I think Misano is a bit better than the other tracks we've been at this year in terms of overtaking, so there's a lot we can do on the first lap. So I'll definitely be trying to make most of my positions in the first 2 laps. After that, we need to see if we can do an undercut and how the race plays out. Stein should be able to use the fresh set of tyres well after the pit stop.
Stein, come in. Fresh set of tyres or new set of tyres?
I can't say, that's a secret.
Well, I've been told the number 1 idea over there, they said, or number 2, they've no new tyres.
No.
Neither of you?
I don't know, I can't tell.
Get those stickers, let me have a look at them. Thanks a lot.
These are used. These are used, I can tell you.
Okay, anyway, have fun. See you later.
Now, very interesting pairing there. Kelvin van der Linde, South African, the Dutch racer Stein Schothorst, because their team, Attempto Racing, a very late decision to change across to racing Audis this year. They went to the first round, picked up a 4th place, and then took victory in the second race at Zolder. They have suddenly landed right in the mix. Yes, we lost them from the running yesterday, but expect them to be really right there at the sharp end. And the start of this race, listen to the top 6 starting drivers: Raffaele Marciello, Frank Pereira, Christopher Mies, Mirko Bortolotti, Kelvin van der Linde and Dries van Tor. Super quick sextet there. And the orange and green Lamborghini, the 63 car, has been getting better and better through the course of the season. And Mirko Bortolotti, there he is, always such a firecracker throughout a race. And he's looking forward to being much closer to the front of the grid than yesterday's start. And don't forget, yesterday they came through from 9th up to 3rd, so plenty of overtaking potential. And Jean is moving around the grid, and he's caught up with Nico Jamin, who started from pole yesterday, didn't get the results he was looking for.
Nico, off and running at the start of yesterday's race, and then just all of a sudden stopped.
Yeah, the start was really good. I had a good pace. The car was very well set up, so big thanks to the team for that. And then unfortunately we had an electronical issue on the car, so the car just shut off, and I lost everything, the dash, the engine, so I had to pull away on the straight line. For sure it's a big disappointment after the beginning of the race, but today we're starting 3rd in class, in silver class, and we'll try and get a good result.
So overall victory would be very sweet, but it's the class victory you're after.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday we were going for the overall victory and the class victory, which would have been really good. Today we're starting 12th, and it's not easy to overtake on this track, so we're going for the class victory. It would be a really good result.
Dennis nervous?
I think he's all right. I think he was a little bit more nervous yesterday, you know, after I was leading the race and everything, but today we're just trying to take it easy at the start, you know, get a clean start, do a clean race, and I think for sure we can get a podium in class, and a victory would be even better.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And Dennis, John and Nico were referring to there was Dennis Bulatov, who was a late last-minute arrival to join the team. Felix Sarayes couldn't make it here to Misano, and a Sprint Cup debut for Dennis, but thus far he hasn't done any racing in this series because he didn't get to take his stint yesterday when Nico Jamin pulled over with that surprise electrical problem. Cars looking absolutely fantastic down on the grid. Looking at row 3, that's Will Stevens and Dries van Tor, who'll be starting that number 2 Audi for Team WRT. It looked as though victory had got us away from the team yesterday, but they came good at the end, but only just with the number 1 car, Alex Riberas and Christopher Mies, taking that win. But Team WRT, we always talk about their pit stops being good, but that was a major factor in beating the 88 Mercedes. And we'll see if they can do it all over again. They're starting respectively first for the 88 Mercedes and 3rd with Christopher Mies in the number 1 Audi. 82 on the outside of the front row. Frank Pereira will kick off there. There is the number 1 Audi. Christopher Mies will be starting with that today. Mirko Bortolotti in the 63 Lamborghini on the right-hand side will be starting from 4th. Then Kelvin van der Linde for Attempto Racing, the 66 Audi, alongside the number 2 Audi, with Dries van Tor kicking it off for them as well. Up to row 4, the Sansalot Racing, largely white and blue car, Christopher Haas, and then Sheldon van der Linde, yes, brother of Kelvin, will be kicking off in the number 17 car, sharing it with championship leader Stuart Leonard. Ezekiel Perez-Compe going faster and faster this year in the 19 Lamborghini, lined up alongside the Sansalot car with Marcus Winkelhock, and that was yesterday's Pro-Am winner. The car that led yesterday until it pulled off the 87 Mercedes. No more electrical gremlins for them, please. They were sitting very pretty in a race, 3.5 seconds clear when suddenly the gremlins struck. The 2 Lexus RCFs, you'll see them way down the grid going past my commentary box, 114 and 14. Don't forget, both were fighting around the top 6 positions, and the better finishing one was Norbert Sieder, Stefan Ortelli in 5th place overall. Last row of the grid is Lucas Morais' 3Y Technology BMW, and Jirko Malčarek, the father of the Malčarek pairing in the Audi Sport Slovakia. The red and yellow Audi on the back row of the grid, making its championship debut this weekend. Great to have a new crew on board. So weather conditions absolutely perfect. Track temperatures are hovering around 30 degrees. Air temperatures about 28 degrees. Wind not as much as yesterday. There was a useful breeze. Plenty of fans out around the circuit as the teams are waved off. Who's going to be first down to the first corner? Will it be Franck Pereira? Will be taking the outside line, or will it be the blue and white Mercedes, number 88, Raffaele Marcello, fantastic Italian racing driver, racing on home soil. And he really fancies his chances before handing over to his teammate, Michael Meadows.
Well, Bruce, you've got two, what I would call proper racers on the front row of the grid. And it'll really be who reacts quickest to the lights going out as we look at the front row of the grid right now.
Yeah, so it's Raffaele Marcello on pole and Franck Pereira alongside. Then look at the calibre on row 2. Christopher Mies and Mirko Bortolotti. It's an absolute tribute to this Sprint Cup Championship of the calibre of the drivers there. Kelvin van der Linde on the up, Dries van Tor on the up, and then you go to the next row. Sheldon van der Linde, Christopher Haase, these are absolute quality drivers. So the first sequence of corners, these drivers want to gain positions, but they know a little bent wing here or there could really affect their chances. So how you balance that caution is absolutely key. Some of the drivers from further back may be prepared to take a few more risks, but for Raffaele Marcello, he's just got to be focused on getting ahead into turn 1 and pulling across enough to the left to stop the driver on the outside the front row, Franck Pereira, sweeping around to try and take the lead into row 2. 11 rows of cars, so we get down to the penultimate row of the grid here. Aaron Taylor-Smith, Pierre Caffer starting from that row in the Bentley and the Audi respectively, and then we've got Jirko Malčarek on the back row starting alongside Lucas Moraes, the Brazilian racer in the 3-wide technology BMW, the only BMW M6 in this race. So it's about getting heat into the tyres, it's about concentrating for Raffaele Marcello, who's such a calm being out of a car, but he may stay calm, but he's such a positive driver when he gets behind the wheel of a racer.
A very, I would say, combative in the negative sense. Knows where he needs to be, knows how to get there, is not going to take any kind of limp whatsoever from Franck Pereira in the much improved Lamborghini Huracans. Spoke to Gottfried Grasser just before we went live on the grid, and he explained that they, along with other teams, had been to Misano and done some testing. They discovered a number of areas. It was a particularly hot test. They said that helped them flesh out areas within the car that they hadn't previously managed to get to. So they're confident. Gottfried Grasser was much more confident than at any point I've seen him so far this season.
Yeah, definitely had a dip of form with the balance of performance adjustment, but with their cars starting 2nd, 4th and 9th, they really are packing out the top 10 very nicely indeed. Great mix of manufacturers all around down there, which is exactly how we like it in Blancpain Sprint Cup.
Well, that is an image of Gottfried Grasser just watching intently to see how this race will get underway. We're coming down to the far end of the back straight into turns 13 and 14. Everybody will then have to get side by side as they come up to the final corner, turn 16, and then waiting. And everybody actually is saying, look, let the car, once the field sort of gets around the final turn, let the cars go maybe slightly earlier than holding them back, bearing in mind entry into turn 1, 2, and then 4 and 5 have been problematic in the past.
Yeah, and also it's a very short blast from the start-finish line down to turn 1, so you're letting them have their head. They're coming up out of turn 15, coming to turn 16. You can see the field very nicely bunched, 11 rows of cars. So the pole man, 88, Raffaele Marcello, lines it up around the outside. Look at the lights of the starting gate. Very early flick, that's exactly what we wanted. Who's going to get the better start? And up behind we've got Kelvin van der Linde on the grass. He's putting in a fantastic charge. There's Christopher Mies diving up to the inside. Marcello, he wasn't going to be passed into the first turn. What's happening behind the first 2 rows running exactly as they qualified on the grid. Marcello just in front of Franck Pereira, who's being pushed wide. Christopher Mies trying to move up into 2nd place in the Audi. Should be in the right position to do that up into turn 4. So the first positional change is for 2nd place. A bit of bodywork banging between a couple of the Mercedes further back. The SMP car clattering with the 87, the car that was leading yesterday's race. But we'll get back to that in a moment. Everybody cleanly away, almost in grid position, but Christopher Mies has put his intent out there for all to see.
Yeah, that was a bold move. He had to do it very quickly. He knew if he didn't get past the 82 Lamborghini on the opening lap, he wouldn't make it work. Now we've got the 63 following the 82. There's 2 Lamborghinis running in 3rd and 4th place. Further on the field, the 19 Lamborghini. Likewise, much improved performance across the board from these 3 Lamborghinis.
Very tidy. Sheldon van der Linde trying to make up places. The number 17 Audi that he shares with Stuart Leonard, but a really, really tidy start there by Raffaele Marcello. Did exactly what he had to do. Slightly compromised start for Franck Pereira because he had Christopher Mies trying to muscle into second place. That positional change did happen at turn 4. Now bodywork damage,
Rear
that's the
damage,
19
puncture,
car.
I think, left rear is...
That's Caldarelli's had a tap, and I'm afraid that will effectively, in a championship as tight and as competitive as that is race over for that one. Yes, they'll rejoin, but look how tight it is at the front. They'll never regain that lost ground.
Well, there's always competitive and close on the opening lap, and any slight contact at all can just cut through the sidewall of a tire, front, rear, even in the middle. But it is Raffaele Marcello who's got that advantage and pulling, stretching away by 1.2 seconds on the opening lap. Great start for the Italian in the Mercedes.
Oh, and a big spin from Aaron Taylor-Smith in the Bentley. He's gone around coming out of turn 6 to wave yellow flags, and he's clouted the walls. I thought he might have just missed that. He's gone past our commentary box completely sideways. Unfortunate. That, I'm sure, will bring out the safety car. So just remember, 1.2 seconds, a stonking first lap from Raffaele Marcello. A really, really brilliant start, but that car is sitting on the start-finish straight, and there'll be a fair degree of debris as well. A bit of time for the marshals to get over if they can find a gap in the wall to clear it. But out front, it's Marcello from Christopher Mies, then the two Lamborghinis.
There are gaps in the pit wall, there are two of them, but I can see just in front of us one of the recovery vehicles in the internal roads that are in the middle of the racetrack there, just about to come out onto where turn 16 exits, and they will then be picking up the Bentley, but we're still running under a green flag. We haven't yet got a yellow flag or certainly a safety car deployed or even the full course yellow, so let's look again and see. Oh, they just ran wide. A heavy impact on that left rear quarter of the Bentley. You can see the entire bodywork is distorted. Fortunately, I think most of the damage is up against the barrier, the concrete barrier. So everybody's continuing along. There's no yellow flag at the current time.
Well, what we're having at the front of the race, John, is that the first four are starting to stretch clear before this absolute phalanx of about, I think it's 4 Audis, maybe 5 Audis, and then the Jaguar going very well indeed in 10th place overall with Michael Grenier at the wheel. But our pole starts at Raffaele Marcello, 1.2 seconds clear of Christopher Mies at the end of the first lap. That looks so it's gone down a fraction more.
The Bentley's cleared away and managed to drive itself down pit straight and pull away. So great work by Aaron Taylor-Smith to get that car off the racetrack and allow this race to continue under green. Good call from race director as well.
Absolutely fantastic. And Raffaele Marcello leading the race. His lead is get out to just under 1.6 seconds. He will say a big thank you afterwards to Aaron Taylor-Smith. Aaron is driving off down the back straight, so he can't report to the pits because he passed pit entry. He'll bring it in this time around, hopefully shedding no debris. Let's run down the order. Raffaele Marcello leading from Christopher Mies' Audi, then from Pereira and Mirko Bortolotti, third and fourth in their Lamborghinis. And then comes this run of 5 Audis. Van der Linde, we've got two of them, of course, 66 car driven by Kelvin and Sheldon in the number 2, and then Christopher Haas. Sheldon van der Linde is down in 8th place, and then Marcus Finkelhock, and then Michael Grenier.
So it's pretty much as we've seen since the lights went out, other than the overtake for second place, it's been nose to tail motoring. And with 4 Audis running nose to tail, there's no difference in performance. Really, all of them will come down to is who's looked after their cars best over the 2 days of running to give them the most fresh sets available for this afternoon's 1 hour. It's a dash. There's the Bentley, and well, the dash of the Bentley's fine, but the rear corner is absolutely in tatters.
Yeah, well, you can hear it dragging its bodywork here to the person that I stumbled over slightly there was, of course, Dries van Tor rather than one of the van der Lindes in 6th place. So just to reiterate, after Bortolotti, it's Sheldon van der Linde and then Dries van Tor et al. So Kelvin van der Linde, Dries van Tor, Christopher Haas, etc. But no doubting the race leader, but he's being closed in on. Let's have a little look at this replay with Christopher Mies. I mean, this is the start of the race. He was almost into second place, but not quite.
Well, he's almost into the lead as well, but he had to back out of it because going into turn 1, the Mercedes did have the advantage, being slightly further ahead. That allowed Franck Pereira to nip in behind the Mercedes, but at this point, Christopher Mies, and he was really, close to being off the track on the inside of turn 3, but a bit of further banging and up the 2 of the AKA ASP Mercedes midfield. There was the cut rear tire of the number 19 Lamborghini. We didn't see where that incident occurred, but somewhere obviously mid-pack in the opening lap. Then crash bang wall of the Bentley, Team Parker Bentley into the wall, but back to race leader, currently 1.5 seconds clear. But it's the charging Franck Pereira now, currently in 3rd place, who set the fastest race lap, albeit by 0.06 of a second.
Yeah, and again, looking at that replay at the start, it showed how determined Christopher Mies was to try and take the lead from 3rd on the grid. He got the car out, 2 wheels onto the grass on the run down the start finish straight, then got very close to Raffaele Marcello, but of course the door was being closed, he had to back off. But since then, getting past into second place past Ron Pereira showed his absolutely true intent. Christopher Mies very calm out of the car, but in it, absolutely steely-eyed.
Well, we talked about Christopher Mies yesterday, and of all the Audi drivers, they've got almost like a school of Audi drivers, and he is one of those that certainly would be in my list of drivers I would like for either a sprint, endurance, or a 24-hour event.
Yeah, and those Audis running behind the Lamborghinis, 5th place backwards. It's still Kelvin van der Linde, the 66 Attempto car, then Dries van Tor, then the Christopher Haas in the Sandslock, the white and blue car, 3rd in that group of Audis. But of course, the top Audi is the number one in second place, 1.6 seconds down on Raffaele Marciello. Slightly better lap for Marciello that time.
Yes, lap up 10th of a second, now the gap of 1.6 up of a second. But what's interesting to me is watching the pace of the 82 Lamborghini Frank Pereira against the 63 Lamborghini of Mirko Bortolotti. That's beginning to stretch slightly in favour of the 82. There is Mirko Bortolotti coming into turn 8, and he's not being able to keep close contact. He's got Kevin van der Linde behind him, then Dries van Tor, who's really trying to make up from probably not his best start, maybe a bit tight. And they're going to give certainly Kevin van der Linde a good workout. Certainly. Almost bumping in the back and looking to get up the inside and get potentially alongside coming down into turn 13 at the end of the straight.
Yeah, at this point in the race, Kelvin van der Linde is holding up those behind. You can see they're dropping away from the orange and green 63 Lamborghini. Mirko Bortolotti at the wheel of that. Looks as though he might be having a place change. Nico Grenier looks as though he's just about losing off to Dennis Bulatov in the 87 Mercedes. Of course, that the car was winning the race yesterday until it suddenly pulled off with an electrical gremlin. But right now, I think having not run in the race yesterday, Dries van Tor is super keen to make the move in the number 2 Audi, but he's still stuck behind the 66 car with Kelvin van der Linde at the wheel.
And that is not going to be an easy overtake. Kelvin van der Linde, very impressive all year so far in the wheel of the Audi. Somebody just kicking up dust as they come off turn 16, looking back to Thierry Tassin and Vincent Valls, the boss. One they're wondering, well, will we get a bit of cooperation from Kelvin van der Linde or not in the attempt to racing?
Bodywork damage on the nose of the 26 car. That's Marcus Finkelhoff, yesterday's winner in the Pro-Am class of Neil Stevenart. It could be a bit of bodywork went off out of turn 16, as you can see it lying on the grass. But look at the nose of that car. He's got too close. He's clattered the back of the 17 with Sheldon van der Linde on board. And so whether that can be taken down, can not flat loose and be taken down when it gets to their pit stop. But right now, it could be a compromise for the leaders in the Pro-Am class.
So going defensive to stop Kelvin van der Linde to try and prevent the number 2 Audi getting through. Dries van Tor going one way on the entry to turn 8, then looking for the overcut, undercut, any cut he can get. And right now the 3rd place Lamborghini Frank Pereira, 0.6 of a second behind the 2nd place Audi, which is dropping away almost 2 seconds now behind the lead Mercedes. This is a battle for 2nd place. Raffaele Marciello he's gone.
Absolutely, he's gone, but certainly Frank Pereira's got his tail out now as he's having a chase, just changing position, but the wrong way for Dries van Tor. He wants to be overtaking. He's now lost that strange, the 6th place. That was strange. He was shaping up to try and pass Kelvin van der Linde, and Christopher Haas must have spotted a weakness, and he's gone for it. And then in behind 17, the 2nd of the van der Lindes, that's Sheldon trying to get in close, and the one with the tattered front end, 26, Marcus Finkelhoff. You can see when you see the front of the car, the bonnet has taken a little bit of damage. That is flapping around, but he's closing in all over again.
Well, I mean, it's quite often the case when you have bodywork damage at the front of a car, you'd expect the car to have deteriorating front-end grip and front-end handling. It might well be, for some strange reason, that Marcus Finkelhoff has found something that didn't show up in a wind tunnel test, put it that way.
Yes, less than orthodox. Looks like an Eiffel and March from the early 1970s in Formula 1 with that very straight front bodywork. But I just want to point out that Carlo Van Dam, bear in mind the tattered 26 Audi is leading the Pro-Am class, but Carlo Van Dam not so far apart and further back in the 39 Ferrari. But we've got 4 drivers being warned. Must respect track limits to the final corner of the lap, turn 16. Our race leader, that's Raffaele Marciello, the 2nd place Audi, Christopher Mies, the 87 Dennis Bulatov Mercedes that's down in 10th, and car number 39, the last of those, which is our Carlo Van Dam runner. So race leader Marciello, 2nd place Christopher Mies, 3rd coming through the shot, the 1st the Lamborghinis, that's Ron Pereira, Mirko Bortolotti, then the Audi train, and still with Kelvin van der Linde, but now with Christopher Haas up into 6th place behind him, and Christopher looking very, very serious, and in fact, Dries van Tor going backwards, maybe the lack of experience. He didn't race here yesterday. Friday was a real wash-up, but certainly the advantage in that little battle for the top 6 positions is going the way of Christopher Haas, not Dries van Tor.
I mean, it's very strange, the number 2 Audi going back. Ordinarily, you expect Dries van Tor to move forward. Maybe some of those things you just mentioned, Bruce, have had a bearing on the car's performance. The problem is there's no way forward. Having lost that position to Christopher Haase, he's not going to give that position up just because it's a WRT racing against a 25 on the Santalock racing, going to attempt to on Santalock and AWHT.
Yes, and I still feel that Kelvin van der Linde in the Audi just coming into turn 1 now is holding up that pack behind. The fact they're nose to tail. Good to see that Marcus Winkelhock isn't backing off in position. A whole host more cars are being pinged for exceeding track limits at the final corner, getting all 4 wheels outside the white line on the side of the circuit. And Dries van Tol now seemingly going backwards and holding that 17 car up behind. So Sheldon van der Linde frustrated by his teammate at the moment. Out front though, no answers to race leader Raffaele Marcello. He's got a 1.7 second lead, but it's not getting bigger at a great rate.
Actually,
it's actually coming down.
On that last lap, Christopher Mies was fractionally quicker. They were lapping in the 1:34s, the high 1:34s. They've now dropped back into the low 1:35s. But on that last lap, Christopher Mies managed to be fractionally quicker. So the gap was 1.9 seconds, now down to 1.7. You've got Frank Pereira behind in third place. He's 3/4 of a second behind Christopher Mies. So Mies and Pereira are going forward, but Mies was going forward slightly quicker than the Lamborghini, by tenths of seconds.
Well, let's wait and see how that unfolds, but it's still a 1.7 second advantage. The Pro-Am Cup, it's still 3.2, double that advantage. But the difference between Marcus Winkelhock and Carlo Van Dam. Carlo's got to try and get past Mikael Grenier, who was pushing very hard in the late stages of the race yesterday in his Jaguar.
You've mentioned all these respect track limits at turn 16. It's interesting that it's the lead car and the second place car that have also been amongst those that have been cited as abusing those track limits. They need to be careful. They keep doing it, then they will maybe get a penalty, and that's something, if you're leading a race and give it up for something as fundamental as that, is not a good deal. Not something you want to go and face your team boss after your stint and explain why you didn't respect track limits when you would have been advised of doing so.
Yes, and even in this camp you can see both of the cars in 5th and 6th running just a little bit wide, so they will get the warning from the team. If they've been given a warning, they'll be straight on the radio saying, keep it on the island, keep it within the confines of the circuit. We've seen many penalties over the course this weekend. These are all pro drivers at the front end of the field. They know what they're doing, but they're pushing as hard as they possibly can. Tiny, tiny margins between their cars, and so they're trying to pinch every inch, if you can imagine, as they go around the middle part of the lap. But frequently it's the final corner, turn 16, where they go out wide over the circuit, and in earlier races it's been turn 3 as well. But so far this race is only turn 16, for which they've been transgressing.
Interestingly, looking at the 2 Lexus, which were so impressive at Silverstone, and Paul Ricard, they really seem to be struggling. Stefano Otelli down in 15th position right now, and Christian Klein down 2 further places in 17th. So they're not on board. This is the view from from Christian Klein's. This is the shot I said in our broadcast on Saturday. This is as close as you will see an onboard camera from what a driver experiences, sitting almost as low as the camera, but from the driver's seat.
Exactly so. Yesterday those Lexus RCS looked so super well balanced, but today they're way down the order. Track conditions much warmer today. Yesterday we were racing in the evening. Now number 17 being pushed very hard indeed. That's Sheldon van der Linde and Marcus Winkelhock. Well, Marcus knows everything you could possibly know about an Audi R8 LMS, and even though the nose of his car is rather tattered, he's sticking right to the rear. Dennis Bulatov tried to get onto the tail in that red Mercedes from the ASP team. That was the car he's showing with Nico Jamin. The car that led yesterday was in undisputed lead of the race, 3.5 seconds, electrical problem. What a cruel stick. They had to put that behind them and just hope it never happens again.
It was just a totally unexpected and sudden electronic failure, so that was the end of the race. But then Dennis Bulatov suddenly is in the pound seat, or in the ruble seat in his case, and having to do the best he can to ensure when he hands that car over to Nico Jamin that they are in a position where they can hopefully maybe make some progress, get inside the top 6 comfortably, currently running in 10th place. You never know. Podiums, you could never dismiss it.
Great little battle we're enjoying on screen with with Clean pushing very hard. Pierre Caffer in the Audi just ahead, but this wonderful low angle filmed from the Lexus RCF, number 14 behind. Don't forget that was running 4th or 5th in the race yesterday. Fell down the order somewhat in the second half of the race. But Christian Clean there. Now what have you spotted, John?
I'm not. I just think it's such a great image, because of all the camera positions of all the cars and all the circuits around the world and all the years I've been involved, That's the one that tells me that's what it is like to be behind the wheel of a race car.
Oh, and a big switch there from Pierre Caffer, getting it wrong through one of the fast kinks.
And
He's run very wide. That's down at turn 12 into 13. Now they get to 14, trying to get the power down as soon as possible. They flick to the right, clump the curve to the left, but that was showing that Pierre's braking that little bit too late.
You know, I think every race car should have a camera fitted in the same location as the 14 Lexuses, because it is absolutely stunning. These are, I'm going to keep repeating myself, the best images that I've ever seen from an onboard car. I want to see this. I want to see what is happening. I want our audiences to understand, as they've never ever seen before, just actually what is involved. The little flinches at the back of the Audi just ahead, you don't often see those from an outboard camera maybe 20 or 30 meters away from the racetrack. This is absolutely real.
And it takes you, as you say, right to the driver's eye view. When you get one car clattering, a car in front that's carrying the camera, you flinch in the commentary box at home in front of your television. Brilliant, brilliant low angles. But this battle at the front is far from settled. It went down to 1.7 seconds between Marcello leading the race and Christian Mies in second. It's down to 1.3 seconds, and Franck Pereira far from being dropped by just 3/4 of a second down on Mies. So we've got Mercedes from Audi, from Lamborghini in the top 3 positions. In the Pro-Am class, Carlo Van Dam in that wonderful yellow and blue livery Kessel Racing TP12 Ferrari, still in 12th position, still chasing the blue Jaguar of Michael Grenier. But you can see up ahead, 3 places further up the track, Marcus Finkelholt leading the Pro-Am class. But don't forget, these are the pros. The AMs get in later on, so Piti Bhirombhakti will be pitted against Neil Stevenart as they go for glory in the Pro-Am class.
Yeah, and as Nico Jama said on the grid in the interview, obviously yesterday they had victory in their sights, but it is obviously, again, it's the Pro-Am category that they are focusing upon. That's where their whole effort is going into. The Bognors are winning overall. Well, fantastic way to spend a Saturday afternoon. Sadly, not to be.
So big train of cars just coming into view. At the back of the shot should be Jack Manchester. He's down in 18th position overall. We've got 21 runners still in the race. Obviously we lost the Bentley of Aaron Taylor-Smith, but he will hand over, of course, to a driver who led the race yesterday, Nico Bastian. So we should see progress in the 90 car in the second stage of the race.
Yeah, Carlo Van Dam getting a little bit anxious, running behind Michael Grenier in the Jaguar. Now there is a rule that says you're only allowed to flash a certain number of times the car ahead of you, and that was a rule that was introduced to try and maybe the concept of using your lights as a form of bullying. So that's not something that we want to have excessive. So there's a limit on the number of times you can do so. Of course, there have been other issues. Sometimes the frequency of the bumping of a car and the way that the framing of the pixels of a camera and all this sort of stuff. But there is Carlo Van Dam, and he's closing up to the back of the Jaguar around turn 4.
Well, you saw a little bit of a mistake there from Michael Grenier, and he had to come off the power a little bit and balance the car all over again. But in fact,
Lamborghini 63
suddenly pulled off. What is it? It's heavy. Smoke. Look at that. Oh, yeah, there it is.
It's a left rear puncture. It's a left rear puncture.
That was number 4, fourth place for number 63, looking for more points. We just talked before the race about them coming back on strong on song. So Mirko Bortolodi, he's got a wheel, but not really got a tyre on that corner.
Don't know whether there's been contact. It didn't really look like there was much body damage. So maybe just simply debris in the track or dropping a wheel off a curb.
Well, I'll tell you what, a bit of debris that's been lying on the grass out of turn 16 has been removed. It could well have been that one that's been clipped, but he was under no pressure in 4th place.
But the man who's under pressure right now is car 88, Raffaele Marcello. The gap now between him and second place Christopher Mies down to 1.126 seconds, and I need to emphasize the 1.126 because that 0.26, that's the hard bit. How are you going to get it done? You can maybe get it under that 1 second. That's when the hard work will really commence.
Okay, I'm going to throw something else into the mix. The race leader has just been given the black and white warning flag for not respecting track limits. So there he is with his gap coming down to Christopher Mies in second place, and Franck Pereira getting into the mix as well. The first 3 with now Bortolodi out of it. A big gap back to the 4th place Audi. Kelvin van der Linde for Attempto Racing, but he's 4.5 seconds back. So the top 3 closing up and they're broken clear.
Right now, Raffaele Marcello is going to have to be really racing now on metaphorical eggshells. He cannot afford to be penalised with a drive-through penalty or a time penalty for ignoring this black and white sporting regulation warning. So he is now not only having to be more cautious at every corner, 16 particularly, also out of 8 and other corners around the circuit, with Christopher Mies, who was 1.1 seconds behind at the end of lap 12, but coming up to the end of lap 13, roughly within, well, hundredths of a second. But it's Franck Pereira who's now closing up. That gap is going to reduce.
And what you can see there, as we ride with the race leader, he didn't go over the curb so much at turn 16. He's paid attention to the race direction. He's now done 0.9 of a second clear, and every time he doesn't go over those curves, he's going to have to be that slightly slower coming up to the start for this straight. So this could swing the advantage toward Christopher Mies and towards the 82 Lamborghini of Frank Pereira. Kelvin van der Linde leading the rest. His job is to just stay ahead of that battle, to keep ahead of Christopher Haas. But Haas has been warned. He's had a black and white flag as well for going out over track limits.
Ahead of this leading group, I think it's the 63 Lamborghini is back out on track. Now that will be a quick car. Mirko Bortolotti will be very quick behind the wheel on fresh rubber. So it may be actually that he will pull away. There you can see the 63. He might be able to pull away from this leading trio as Christopher Mies gets so close going into turn 8.
Well, we don't. Let's have a look. I think certainly that's where in Mirko's dream he would have been in this race, starting from 4th on the grid, but unfortunately his dream hasn't turned out to be true. He's had that. Oh, he just pulled completely out of the way. Well, that's a very gentlemanly thing to do. You talked about the new rubber. He could have pulled away, but decided not to interfere.
Well, it's not quite as simple as that. The reason he pulled over is because there's that number 82 Lamborghini in a battle for second place. Potentially, if we see a penalty going to the leading 88 Mercedes, car 3 must respect track limits at turn 16. So that was smart driving, smart team management from the Grasser Racing team to tell Mirko Bortolotti, let these 3 cars go, you're not in their race, but one of our other team cars very much is in that race. So just step aside, let them go, and just have to suck it up.
And again, looking at the rear shot at turn 16, the final corner of the lap, Raffaele Marciello going right to the edge where he's allowed to go, but not beyond. He has been going beyond. He's been picked up for it. He's had the black and white warning flag, but he's still leading the race, just under a second. And we've got a Lexus going slowly. It's number 14, so really, really bad luck indeed for Christian Klein, the Austrian racer.
And that's our camera car. That's my favourite onboard camera car.
Might as well put your hat coat on, John. But it's far from over, as you can see on the track. Mercedes from Audi from Lamborghini. And what's the point? Raffaele Marciello from Christopher Mies and Frank Pereira very, very close. 1.5 seconds covers the top 3. So we're just hearing a lovely voice in my ear telling me that we promise you more low-down camera angles for future races. Bring them on, we say. John wants them on every car. I want a rear-wheel camera as well. I'm just that greedy.
Yeah, I know, but what I want is those cameras on all the cars at Spa 24. Now that's going to be like 60 cars. It's going to be a big ass. But I promise you, to see that image going down past out of La Source, down the hill, into Eau Rouge, up the hill, through Radio, that'll take my breath away. And I'm sitting here in Misano thinking a month down the road.
You've got to plan ahead, but we hope to have a lot more. That's the great message we're going to bring you for the Blancpain series. But look at this, the first 3, they were 1.5 seconds apart at the start-finish line. They're less than a second, I would suggest now. Frank Pereira is closing and keeping a watching brief. It's the second of the Lamborghini. It's a lap down, a bit of bodywork or something. Front left corner of the 88, the race leader, the Mercedes. Something has gone flapping out of that front wheel arch. There's a bit of loose bodywork there.
It's like part of the inner guard on the front of the car. He went very, very wide on the edge of the 15. You can see them. It's like watch what happens.
Yeah, but did he clout the curb on the inside as they do at 15? Is this the point the damage is done? Wait. Oh, my golly, he did.
Well, look what he's taken out of the inside of the front guard. That is all over the racetrack. That's the reason why he ran so wide on the edge of the 15. Now, under serious threat, he could end up having a very badly mangled left front Pirelli tire after that extremely aggressive, unnecessarily so, I have to say, on the Mercedes.
Yeah, but he was now starting to come under pressure. I said they'd closed within a second, 0.9 of a second covering the top 3 now. It's still the 88 Mercedes, the Raffaele Flappy Marciello overtaken down the inside by not 1 but 2 cars. Christopher Mies takes the lead, but he manages somehow to keep Frank Pereira behind him as well. I don't know how that happened. That was a magic trick.
Frank Pereira had to stand the Lamborghini on his metaphorical nose to prevent the Mercedes and the Lamborghini coming together.
Yeah, but I think there's been a bit of body contact on the front right-hand corner. It's smoking away on the 82 car. It was. He braked into turn 9. I think he might have a puncture.
Well, it has, because you just see it coming out of the straight. So there is the consequence of what happened going into turn 8. Now the Lamborghini 63, which is a lap down, has overtaken its sister car. That was the consequence of what happened just 3 corners ago. Frank Pereira tried to do what was the obvious thing. Here we see coming into turn 8. Now Christopher Mies dives up the inside. Frank Pereira follows through, and at this point, in my view, it was, well, he was sufficiently far into the corner and alongside the 88 Mercedes. That contact might be something that will be reviewed at a later date, depending on the outcome for the 82 car and for the 88.
I think, well, we may well see a message at the bottom of the screen, but what you don't need is a message to tell you that Christopher Mies is in the lead and he's pulling away, and certainly think the performance is going to be affected from the battered front corner of the 88 Mercedes. 63 car is a lap down, having had a pit stop for a replacement tyre. The pit window is open, but that's not the reason the 82 car is in from third place. Punctured front right.
Pit stop is open anyway, so the pits are actually open, so they're not going to lose a lap because they've got it in when the pit stop window was open, so they can do their wheel tyre change, get Lawrence Hazelmans into the car and continue. But what disappointment to hear. This is going to be gone. And then the 19 also. What is going on with the left fronts?
Godfrey Grasser must have run over a cat this morning on the road or something.
Left rear, so the rear, beg your left rear.
Left rear, but in the space of no time at all three of the GRT Grasser Racing Team Lamborghinis have had puncture. Contact most certainly for the 82 car, not necessarily for the 63 car with Mirko Bortolotti. Now, oh dearie me.
Incident between number 82 and 88 is going to be investigated.
So that's the incident we've just seen between the 82 car with Franck Pereira, the Lamborghini, and the 88 S-While race leader, just been demoted to second place, Raffaele Marciello, but undisputed leader of the race now. The number one Audi that won yesterday's race, pulling clear. At the end of last lap, he was 9/10 of a second clear. I would reckon that's almost doubled on this lap. Christopher Mies will be handing over soon to Alex Rivera. Super tight between themselves and the 88 Mercedes yesterday. There is debris on the track at turn 15. Not surprised so much sprayed out of that wheel arch.
Well, that was fundamentally the inner guard, which is probably made out of not necessarily carbon fibre. There we see the number one Audi into the pit. So Christopher Mies has come in at 32 minutes and 40 plus seconds. He's going to hand that car over to Alex Riveros, and he will be probably the most comfortable of the three or the two lead cars in terms of my car is actually undamaged, I believe, and in good condition in terms of what the tyre and rubber is.
And again, having the final pit garage gives them an opportunity to have a nice clean exit from the pits. Of course, they can't just floor the throttle, they've got to stay within the speed limiter in the pits, but certainly that clean run down towards pit exit. And don't forget yesterday, super fast pit stop for the number one crew, saved them 2 and a bit seconds, and that could have been the difference between success and failure.
But even they then complained, they said, well, actually that pit stop, which was quicker than the 88 Mercedes, was a below par pit stop. That one today, we just seen that was absolutely metronomic.
You'd have to say they're being a bit picky, but then again, the excellence of the WRT pit stops is renowned. Bodywork still flapping, just one little slip up, thumping the inside curve at turn 15, and that must be affecting the handling. And certainly when Michael Meadows takes over the car from the car that's leading the race from Raffaele Marciello, he'll go, thanks, chum, you've really given me an absolute wonderful car. But it will be slightly nicer. But now really making great progress. 25 car, Santalot Racing, that's in second place. Couldn't even take the lead of the race. Okay, the number one car's made its pit stop, of course. This will unfold, but it really has been a story of Christopher Haas moving ever further forward. He started from 7th on the grid. He'll hand over to Simon Gachet, but he's just reeled in the 88 Mercedes.
I think the Mercedes must come in this lap because all he's doing is shredding more and more of the car. No, it was the Audi that comes in, the 25 Audi. Christopher Haas dives into the pits. The last lap of what is still the lead car, that's the 88 Mercedes. Raffaele Marciello was 137. This lap 138. Everybody else around is doing middle 135s, high 135s. So Raffaele Marciello, in my opinion, should be in the pits at the earliest time. Do the driver change, get a new set of rubber on the car. There's 25, but just had been in second place momentarily, and they're coming in and doing their driver change. Simon Gachet behind the wheel of that car.
Yeah, you certainly think the 88 crew need to get the front end of their Mercedes taped back down, stop that bodywork flapping away. Distraction, but certainly looking at the lap speed, it's dropped by 2.5 seconds from where it was before the damage. So looking for the number one Audi back in the race. Of course, that was the first of the front runners to make that pit stop. But you can see how everybody else is caught up onto the tail. Dries van Tor into second place, and number 17 Sheldon van der Linde also for WRT Audi, closing right onto the tail of that rather broken looking Mercedes.
Yeah, the left front of the Mercedes not looking at all healthy, and no doubt that's contributing to the car's current loss of pace. Last lap 138.251. There we see, oh whoa, what's going on there? Well, the BMW and the Lamborghini maybe unsighted in that offside of the BMW, and all of a sudden Mirko Bortolotti, who I think is still behind the wheel, or did they do a driver change? It is showing Bortolotti still behind the wheel, but all the way down in 19th place, battling actually. That was a battle for position. 18th is Andrew Watson, 19th Mirko Bortolotti.
But now we're about to have a change because Dries van Tor going around the outside of 88. They're diving into the pits. That
smart.
was a clever move.
Smart move by Dries van Tor.
Oh, he nearly hit the barriers as he went round the tightening left into the pit lane. But before the speed limiter line, he got it down.
The thing is, it was a nearly, not an impact. You always can walk away and say, did I hit the barrier? No, but it was nearly. But did I hit it? No, but it was nearly.
Right, let's see the work they're going to do. They're not even touching. They're just changing the tyres. They haven't touched the front corner. The pit stops can be relatively controlled, but into the lead of the race, no doubt when it all unfolds, will be the number 1 Audi. Let's have a look at the work on the 88 car.
I wonder what Michael Meadows is going to feel when he gets behind the wheel. The car goes out. There is damage to that bodywork. It will undoubtedly have a bearing. How much of a bearing? Well, that's up to Michael Meadows to determine on his outlap. He's got to make it as positive and quick an outlap as possible. There is the Audi coming through. The Mercedes is midway down the pit lane.
That will be way in the lead of the race. We've seen before, you think because the car on the track has to go around turns 1 and 2 and the pit exit is after turn 3, but it's such a twisty pit exit, and judging by what we saw yesterday when the number 1 Audi swept by into the lead of the race, it's going to happen all over again. Still waiting for the 88 car to come into view. You can see that advantage has really gone out. Sorry, that's the number 2 car coming. That's Will Stevens coming out next. So that's a change of position as well, because the 1 and 2 for Audi for 1 and 2. There, that's nice and easy for those of us in the commentary box. And Marcus Winkelhock still in the mix. He hasn't made his pit stop though, but he got right onto the tail of that grouping for around 5th place. But another super smooth run through the pits for the number 1 car. Alex Ramirez has taken it over from Chris Demise. And somewhat, we have to look further back. I didn't see any work on that battered front end of the 88 Mercedes. I think they were so desperate to change the tyres, change the drivers, they've just left it to flat.
Yeah, no, most of the body of work that we saw was from the inner wheel arch. There's whether it's a fiberglass or a rubber moulding or whatever it is, might have been carbon fibre. It didn't look like it the way it bounced down the track. But that's what came away. That was a big impact on the inside of turn 15. Big shock load went into the front suspension, and literally the wheel went up so rapidly it actually hit the inner guard and just shattered it. The energy there, I mean, somebody's going to do a calculation one day and work out what that shock loading was, but it was pretty mighty.
It certainly was, and you could see that when it came down to terra firma again, the car was bouncing up and down, and that's why Raffielli ran off the far side of the circuit, ran very wide in turn 15. Still the tattered front end, but these cars are still in the race without having made a pit stop. Marcus Winkelhock leading the way in the 26 car. Now fastest lap of the race. We waited for Nico Bastian. He led yesterday. He's down in about 16th position, having taken over from Jack Manchester, the pro, taking over from the AM. But he is absolutely flying. So look for that coming up the order, but no doubt about it. Number 1 when everybody has made their pit stops. The pit window's still open, but those out on the track at the moment, they've really got this lap to come in. And that means you, number 17 and number 26. And there they are, first and second. Sheldon van der Linde, head of 26.
Yeah, but the pit lane window is going to stay open very much longer, so...
And the car at the front of this pairing, track limits warning for turn 8. We've had so many at turn 16, but for Sheldon van der Linde, he's been using a little bit of an advantage. In they come, they had to. They couldn't have afforded another lap.
Both in, should have, yes they are indeed.
Well, they've done the maths. We'll see how they shake out, but it could be good news for Team WRT if they could go powering up the order. Another person warned is car 114. It's the Lexus, now in the hands of Norbert Cedar. That was the one that came home 5th place yesterday. Turn 16. Well, what a surprise, track limits. Mirko Bortolotti's end run has come to an end. It's up on the jacks in the pit lane. He'll hand that over to Christian Engelhardt. But instead of being challenging for the top end of the race, that early race puncture has put them down towards the back.
Pit lane battle between the 2 respective Audi teams. So WRT slightly further down the pit lane. There's always, I believe, the advantage to that team to be when the car drops off the jacks, you can virtually just nail it because you're not going to get up to the speed limit, the mandatory speed limit, before you go across the line. There is the number 1 car comes across. It is Alex Ramirez. There you can see the WRT has gone. His attempt to get their thing lit up, but that was a better pit stop from WRT.
Yeah, again by a couple of seconds, but the fact is number 1 will be leading the race now. It will be Alex Ramirez and Will Stevens 1 and 2, first and second for Belgian Audi Club Team WRT. 63 Lamborghini, of course, that was the second pit stop, so they've lost ground. Where does the 17 Audi come back out? We'll check that out for you, but he's behind the Lamborghinis there in the back of the shot, trying to challenge the Attempto car. 25 car has also done very well. That looks like it's 5th place for Simon Gachet there.
And our former race leader, number 88, currently will change for once the final pit stops have been washed through, currently down in 9th position. And the last lap, or maybe Michael Meadows' first flying lap, 137.6, which is a way off the pace of what we know that car was capable of. But it's still Nico Bastian in the 90 that's setting fastest race lap upon fastest race lap.
Okay, let's just point that we've highlighted that the last couple of laps because they've been absolutely stunning. Nico Bastian is down in 16th place as the last of the cars complete their pit stops. Pit window, as you can see, top of the screen, is now closed. He will move up the order, but what a challenge for him. The laps he's been laying down at the moment, fastest driver out of the circuit. He's got a lot of traffic to get past, but just remember, he was 16th after the pit stops. Car 66 still right in the mix. That was the car started by Kelvin van der Linde. It's nice. Dane Schotthorst, they were the drivers joking on the grid about who had how many new sets of rubber left, and of course it's a nudge here, it's a wing there, John.
I mean, was he convincing or was he convincing? Would you want to put him into a chair and a court and cross-examine him? I think he would probably have the court and laughter, fits of laughter.
I think they would. So there's a tradition here at Misano. When you get into the lead of the race, you get warning for track limits. And so Alex Riberas, not long been in the car, he's been given a little bit of notice, as has the driver of 25. We just talked about Simon Gachet, who in fact has moved up to 3rd place. So that good long stint by Christopher Haas in the first part of the race. Suddenly it's looking like an Audi race. We've got the top 5 positions filled by Audis. And then Nico Jamin up to 6th place overall. Don't forget that car started way down the order in the hands of Dennis Bunatov, but Nico Jamin, let's hope, keep our fingers crossed he doesn't have mechanical failure today, but it's Audis from 1st through to 5th.
Yes, and that's a battle. The 87 is in the Pro-Am category, the 17 is in the Silver category. So while they're racing on track, they're still, in respect, leading their particular categories. That's their objective here this afternoon. But, you know, someone like Nicolas Jamin, or for that matter, in the 17, it'll be Stuart Leonard now. They want to get on to the podium. The podium overall, not just the podium in their class.
So there's the race leader, Alex Riberas. There, the red and yellow Audi isn't in the mix. That's the lap down. That's the Valtteri brothers now with Christian on board. 2nd place, Will Stevens. There he is in the all-grey car. Then the 2 Lamborghinis, they're not in the mix. They've had their punctures. They've had their problems. 3rd place, the yellow and white and blue car, Simon Gachet. And all Ed are at the best of the rest. You can see the red Mercedes 87 coming round in 6th place. 7th place is Loris Hazeman's there, so he's had the puncture, but it happened at just the right time for him because it was just before the pit stop, it was as the pit stop window opened, so they didn't have to have an extra pit stop for that puncture to be replaced. You don't repair them, obviously.
There it is, Michael Meadows, former race leader, and you can see the car left front long, giving him the bite that he would like. There's the corner of turn 15 for Raffaele Marcello. Mullered that curbing and the cones and just, well, it destroyed the race. Effectively victory here this afternoon for the 88 Mercedes.
So the splitter is busted. That's why the understeer is so strong, and that's why Michael Meadows is in 9th place. Not likely to improve from there. He may gain 1 or 2 positions, but you only feel that's really going to start rooting the car in the final 20-odd minutes of this race, rooting the tyres. So Michael Meadows, a big mountain to climb in the car that led the race in the hands of Raffaele Marcello, but also in Raffaele Marcello's hands damaged itself. And whereas the damaged front end of Winkelholm's car, now it's been handed over at the pit stop, it has had someone else's bodywork taken out of the front of that gold nose.
Yeah, just looking at the 82 Lamborghini, Loris Hazeman's, as I mentioned on the grid, son of the famous 70s and 60s racer Twan Hazemans. He has overtaken the 26 Audi, so that was a pass on track. So Niels Steenhardt has lost that position up to 7th for the 82, down to 8th for the 26. Nicolas Jamin is the car directly ahead of the 82 Lamborghini, but that's 7.1 seconds down the road, probably with the time remaining too far out of reach.
Yeah, and I can sense the frustration from Michael Meadows. Not only is that 88 Mercedes seen here, but the white, behind the white, red, and gold Niels Steenhardt car. He needs to get past it. Steenhardt's had a couple of twitchy moments in the last literal half lap, so he's going to be feeling a bit frustrated. His car's not handling, he can't get past Steenhardt. Steenhardt's being a little bit unpredictable, but he's ahead of him on the track, and that's absolutely fine. 8th place overall for Steenhardt. He took victory in the Pro-Am Championship yesterday, and he's leading it again today. 20-odd minutes to go in this race, and certainly what we're seeing is Nico Jamin putting the pressure now on Stuart Leonard. Leonard in the number 17 Audi with the yellow flashes, and the driver who was comfortably in the lead yesterday until that electrical failure, Nico Jamin, trying to make amends today. So good solid opening stint from Dennis Bunatov. They started from down on the 12th on the grid, the outside of the 6th row, now up to 6th, but certainly not content with stopping there. First to second, 8.2 seconds is the advantage that Alex Riberas has. That is a big margin in a Blancpain sprint race. So he's set possibly for 2 wins in 2 days. But as we've seen, we've had the punctures for the Lamborghinis. Anything can happen. And car 82 must now respect track limits at, guess where, John? Turn 16. So Loris Hazeman, he's got the message.
Yeah, he'll go through it. But of course, Loris young and has spoken to his father on the grid again and said, have you told him to think smart, not fast? He said, no, I've told him to think fast, not smart. Just like I talked to Max. Well, you know, they're both from the same part of Europe, and there's a similar kind of mentality. Look at this closeness. Nicolas Jamin really getting close, coming down into these final turns at the far end of the circuit. Up the inside of Stuart Leonard. Good overtake, clean overtake. Makes it stick. Stuart Leonard thinks he's going to come back, but on the wrong part of the racetrack, Stuart. The undercut's going to be possible, but it's probably improbable.
So come on, Dennis, you can afford a smile. It was nearly on his lips. That was a very, very tiny move, and I think there's a lot more speed in that Mercedes. It certainly looked fantastic yesterday, so Acura ASP can be delighted. Up to 5th place they go, so Audi no longer in the top 5 positions, and let's see how far Nico can go. Nico Jamin, he's 2 and a bit seconds down on the 66, the Tempo car. Stein short-horsed on board, still says Van der Linde on our screen, but we know it's Stein.
Yeah, now it'll be interesting to see the lap that Nicolas Jamin can now record, because he's got clear of that 17 Audi. He will be able to run at his own pace up until he gets up to the tail of the group of cars which he wants to be able to attack, but now he's got the chance. That car was running in the 134s when he got behind the wheel. That last lap was 135.7, so there's certainly another second or so of performance in the 87 Acura ASP Mercedes.
And I noticed just after he was past Stuart Leonard, sometimes happens, your attention just goes a little bit after you've been overtaken, maybe considering life, but ran a little wide at turn 3, and that's dropped him even further off the tail of Nico Jamin. So up to 5th place for the Acura ASP Mercedes, and going very well, and of course leading the Silver Cup class at the moment. The 87 Mercedes ahead of the 17, the car is just overtaking Stuart Leonard. Second in the Silver Cup class. The Emil Racing Jaguar, somewhat further back, Alex Fontana, 10th overall. So the cars in the Silver Cup class are 5th, 6th and 10th, top 3 in that category.
Things just kind of settling down, except Michael Meadows has got his first fool of a Jaguar, and I would not be surprised to see that Alex Fontana will be looking eagerly, but he can't get much closer to the rear bumper of the 88 Mercedes than he currently is. But the pace of the Mercedes clearly being burdened by the damage to the left front of the car, the splitter, and also whatever else to the front inner wing and the outer wing of that car, the 114 Lexus, also trying to get up into a position currently in the 11th place. He would fancy a touch of the top 10.
Oh, most certainly. The strange situation with Emil Racing running 2 sorts of car, running the one Jaguar they've been running for years, and this year's their first year in the Blancpain Series with the RCF Lexus. Started to look good in the second half of the race. 11th place at the moment for Norman Siedler. Behind the Jaguar, they had the politest, just one little flick at the headlights, none of the flashing we were talking about earlier, and that's just Alex Fontana being very polite.
None of the bullying, not like the bullying.
Certainly not. Not in this day and age, quite right.
Track limits, you can see everybody just cuts across. Turn 6 takes, look at the Jaguar now coming down into turn 8, goes one way, tries to go the long way around. Michael Meadows has got the inside line, but he's going to run the car out wide and frustrate Alex Fontana. What he did was perfectly fair and legal. That's motor racing. Now the Lexus, Norbert Siedler, he fancies a little bit of this 3-way action for what is ultimately going to be the 9th position.
And in behind them we've got the number 3 Audi with Adrian Delina at the wheel. He's going to join this battle soon, because certainly they're being backed up by the Mercedes. As you say, totally legitimate, but the damage on that Mercedes. Also, don't forget we had the contact with Franck Pereira down at turn 8, and that led to Pereira's Lamborghini having to pit for a replacement tyre, but just falling down the order. Still in 9th place overall, a car that could and should have been tilting for victory, but after Raffaele Marcello monstered it over the curve to turn 15, the damage is done. You can see it, but it's not just the visual damage, it's the fact that that car's handling must be really, really compromised, with the brake to the front splitter as well.
The other thing that when you hit a car so aggressively, you can bend the steering. Watch the Jaguar now looking behind the Lexus, looking to make a way through. Slightly better out of that last turn for Michael Meadows. He managed to pull maybe a couple of tenths of a second, and now it's Norbert Siedler who's all over the rear of the 94 Jaguar. So Fontana's focus might not be quite so much in the tin. Again, further back, Bastian dives up the inside with the number 3 Audi, and that is a big... That back was that?
Yeah, that's Vladimir Atov, the Russian driver in the SSP racing car. Number 3 Audi, Adrian Delina, I mentioned his name, sorry, just cost you a position, but it's very tight behind. You can see what was a 3-car battle has become a 6-car battle, and Nico Bastian, the 90 Mercedes, at the back of that group, but he was on after he took over from Jack Manchester, the fastest driver on the circuit. He's been bottled up behind these cars, but now he's got onto the tail. He's got time, quarter of an hour remaining, to see how many he can pick off, but Right now it's all eyes on Emil Frey with its split between its Jaguar, number 54, and tucked in behind 114 Norbert Seeland, on fighting over 10th place, being bottled up by the 88 Mercedes, sitting there in ninth, still with that front corner damage.
Yeah, just ahead, the 26 Audi clear enough of this battle for those final top 10 positions. And Michael Meadows, having now had time behind the wheel to make the driving adjustments that he's having to do, he's making there'll be slightly earlier entries into corners to try and mitigate any understeer. He can't just turn it at the last minute because the front will just wash away from the apex of the corner. But Alex Fontana, well, how close can you get before you make contact? That's about it in reality. Sometimes getting that close actually is more of a disadvantage than it is an advantage, because you have to wait for the car ahead of you to get on the throttle before you can get on your throttle. What's the Lexus looking to dive down the inside? Not enough space.
And on the course that last lap, Nico Bastian went from 15th to 13th. He's right on the tail of the SMP Racing Mercedes. You can just see the red nose of that Mercedes on the left of the screen. There it is, tucked in behind Jack Manchester, the largely anthracite-coloured car with the silver flashes, number 90, tucked in behind. There was a bit more contact there. Vladimir Atoev giving a little rub to the back of the Lexus. Very, very tight. But out front, we haven't mentioned our race leader for a while. Just under 10 seconds clear, Alex Riberas. He can stroke home. What a great weekend. It could be 2 wins, but definitely not going to talk about that until we get to the end. But certainly looking very good for the number 1 Audi.
Michael Meadows going very much defensive on the entry into turn 8, staying well on the left-hand side of the circuit to prevent Alex Fontana and the Jaguar thinking about going down the inside, and knowing that the 88 Mercedes can sweep up on the exit of turn 8 and preclude the long way around for the Jaguar, thinking that there might be an opportunity.
Still pushing, but right now onto the tail. He got up past Stuart Leonard into 5th place. Now Nico Jamin, the 87 Mercedes, wants to see what he can do about Stein Schotthorst in the 66 Audi from Attempto Racing, fighting over 4th place now. Last lap, they lapped to exactly 1,000ths of a second. Identical times, these two cars, the 66 Attempto Audi and the 87 Mercedes tucked in behind. So they'll hope to get on the podium, but they're going to be embroiled in this battle now, which will buy a little bit of space for Simon Gachet in the number 25 Santalot Racing Audi, who's holding down 3rd place. Will Stevens running a quiet race in 2nd. He's 3 seconds clear of Gachet, but out front now by 10 seconds, Alex Riberas leading the way.
Yeah, it is this 87 Mercedes that Nicolas Jamin is in, and he's pushing hard. He's got the 66 Lamborghini, the 66 Audi directly ahead. Again, the further you get to the sharp end of the overall positions, the more difficult these overtakes will become. There's a dive down the inside on a wounded Audi, the 21, staying well off the racing line. And you can see further back, Nico Bastian, he's got his work cut out. He's running in 13th place, but all over the back of 12th place and 11th place. Looking to see, and he goes up the inside. Can he get through on the inside of the Audi? Well, they got sort of stalled out, but manages, no, he's not going to be sufficiently far ahead of the Audi as they come in turns 9 and 10, so he's maybe going to be a little bit alternative in his exit, so he takes the tight late apex, gets up alongside the Audi, and now he's regained overall track position.
Yeah, he was ahead at the start of the lap, but Adrian Delina, the Belgian racer, got back ahead through the first sequence of corners and now has just been demoted all over again. He's the driver being hung out around the outside. We've seen a lot of people keeping their foot in there, and he has, but the long nose, the Mercedes in front by the time they get to turn 13, at the point at which they think, good grief, I've got to slow my car for the turn 14. There is turn 14, the hairpin. And then the curve that was hit by the 88 Mercedes on the left-hand side of the screen. Most of the drivers staying clear of it, thank goodness. Into the pits goes the SMP racing car. That may be a puncture. Vladimir Atoev running in 12th place. Not a standard time to come into the pits, so all not right. Car 54, black and white warning flag
and
for driving standards.
The Lexus has got ahead of the Jaguar.
Yeah, that's the car that's just been warned for driving standards. So for Alex Fontana falling backwards, the 114 Norbert Seeland car now up into 10th place. Now he's the driver who's going to take the battle to Michael Meadows. Michael's going to try and hang on.
Yes, indeed, and you would think that the pace that the Lexus has displayed this afternoon, rather than what we saw last night, as we go back to race leader with a comfortable 10.5 second advantage. Still more debris on the right-hand side of the track as you come down into this sequence of quick rights, and then you have to get on the anchors.
Well, that long shot
13 and then to turn 14.
Sorry, John. The long shot we just saw from turn 11, just the fact we only saw the glimpse of Will Stevens coming onto the back straight as our race leader Alex Riberas was starting to kick to the right, just shows the advantage he has, 10 seconds. That's what it looks like on a visual matter round the final corner, turn 16. Nicely controlled there, not too far beyond the edge of the circuit. Looks like he can just run those laps in the mid 1 minute 35. That will be job done. 1 minute 35.554. So he's listening to us, John.
Yep. Well, we have a gap. It was 10.34 seconds when they came across the line at the end of lap 30. 10.3. So the gap between first and second now has stabilised. These are the two WRT Audis. There's no need for either of them to push any harder. And in fact, for Will Stevens in second place, he's got a 2.7 second advantage over the 25 Audi in third place, Simon Gachet. So actually, it's managed. This is a race now managed from the pit wall. Maintain your pace. There's no more racing to do. We've got 9 minutes remaining.
Just seeing a cluster of cars, the 88 Mercedes led by the car that's leading the Pro-Am class. That's Neil Stevenard, the 26 Sansalot Racing Audi in a class of its own, because Piti Birabanti is down in 15th place, 7 places further back, running in his Ferrari, second in the Pro-Am class. Third in the Pro-Am class is Christian Maltarek, who is running right down towards the tail of the field.
And look who's caught up to the tail of the Jaguar, Nico Bastian, and the number 19 Mercedes. He's had to do a lot of work since the handover. I mean, this car is currently one of the quickest, if not the quickest car on the racetrack right now. And I mean, Nico Bastian doing a great job as Michael Meadows again uses his right to defend on the entry into turn 8 to frustrate Robert Seidler in the number 14. Lexus running behind, Alex Fontana seemingly liking, maybe fancying coming back again at the Lexus, but he's got to watch out because Nico Bastian is the quickest of all these 4 cars, and he will only need one opportunity of asking to snatch that opportunity and take it away from the Jaguar.
The latest car to get the track warning for limits was number 17, Stuart Leonard, and as soon as I say that, the 88 car, Michael Meadows, has now been given a warning. Don't forget, in the early part of the race, when his teammate Raffaele Marciello was effectively on a final warning, the black and white warning flag was out. This is just a more polite warning, but the eyes are on you, Michael Meadows, and Michael clearly having to run wide because he just hasn't got the turn in anymore, so very, very hard for him to stay within the confines.
This is a great battle, 4 cars just outside the top 10. Nico Bastian, the 4th of these cars coming through turn 16. Now, what way does he go? Does he want to go right? Does he want to go left? He may change his mind midway down the straight. Thinks Alex Fontana is going to give him an opportunity. Fontana comes back and stalls that opportunity. But Bastian is clearly the driver with the most pace. Now, up the inside, looking up the inside. Remember, track limits are being observed on the exit here of 3, but also through the exit of 2.
Yeah, Michael Meadows really starting to struggle out of 3. At other points around the circuit, you see Nico Bastian squirreling around, trying to not hit the Jaguars, pushing very, very hard. He had better speed down the start, finish straight, couldn't make a move down into turn 1, and now we've got a possible change of positions. Looks so the Lexus has got through. That was coming. You can see Michael Meadows, who's still trying to hang on around the outside.
But he's going to get hung out to dry because
exactly
the Jaguar
so. He'll lose 2 places, surely.
Well, certainly he's going to lose 1, and he may lose 2. He thinks he's going to hang in behind the Lexus and then frustrate Jaguar by being on the inside. Watch Nico Bastian. It's the Jaguar now is being hung out to dry, but can Nico Bastian do anything about it? Jaguar tries to come back on the 88 Mercedes. It's having a look at the Lexus.
Well, the Lexus yesterday was famously quick in a straight line. Didn't seem to get much punched out of turn 10 that time around, but Michael Meadows having to fight very, very hard indeed. Nico Bastian sitting in behind will be licking his lips, thinking this could create a very good opportunity for me to take. Oh, out in the curve on the inside. Alex Fontana surely unsettled himself.
Watch the 90. He's watching this. I mean, it's almost like you're doing it on a game player or something. It's just manic. We saw racing like this at Paul Ricard 3-4 weeks ago, and that was an endurance event. This is a sprint event. This is what you expect out of a sprint event, but this is real wheel to wheel, door handle to door handle, and whatever other handles you got in your car. Now looking to go one way. Again, the Jaguar defense down into turn 1. 5 minutes to go.
5 minutes to go. Frankly, John, the way they're rattling them off the curbs, most notably that Jaguar, they'll have no handles left at all. They'd have vibrated off the car. But Nico Bastian in the 90 Mercedes led the race yesterday, showing with Jack Manchester, picked up that very good result, winning the Silver Cup class. But right now, he's probably not thinking about that. He's just thinking, pass the car ahead of the car ahead, and trying his very, very hardest to do that. Bottled up behind the Jaguar, being very, very defensively driven. Alternating with being very, very attacking defensive, which way he's looking, out the windscreen or through the mirrors. But certainly the driver who's doing the most defending is Michael Meadows in that 88 Mercedes, trying to do everything at turn 8, a corner they're going through now, where there has been a lot of passing in this race, but Michael's showing he's got a very, very mature head on his shoulders.
Yeah, and he's done well in a difficult car, and he's still having to be very creative. Look, Bastian gets up the inside as Fontana was slightly hesitant in making a manoeuvre, so that allowed Nico Bastian to get up alongside the Jaguar. Now it's a duel of horsepower between Mercedes-Benz and Jaguar. How often have we seen this in the past? Collision, touching as they come through turn 12 down into 13. Mercedes has done enough. Fontana has had to concede, or has he? He's going to try and go up. He's squeezed back. He's taken it back.
Fantastic action down at turn 14, side by side at 15, but the Jaguars on the inside. But
contact.
More contact and out over the gravel on the outside, going for a long looping spin. How unfortunate for Nico Bastian there, side by side, and the Jaguar wasn't going to cede position. And oh dear, for the crews down there, Jack Manchester distraught, his teammate Dennis Bulasov also head in hand.
Yeah, I mean, it was inevitable it was going to happen. When Fontana came back again, as he did into turn 14, it was inevitable there was going to be some kind of contact and just being out of position and trying. Nico Bastian, brave move to try and go around the outside in turn 15, but was never a reality. And once you get onto the rubber and the loose, the marbles as we call them on the outside. Now look at 14. I was thinking further down the field, 114. That's the Norbert Siedler trying to find a way past the 26 Audi, and he's done it into turn 8.
Yeah, so very, very late in this one-hour race, just under 4 minutes to go. The car leading the Pro-Am class is number 26, so he doesn't have to take too many risks. And that's Niels Stevenard, of course, fantastic first into the race by his teammate Marcus Finkelhoff. But he's many, many positions ahead of Piti Birabanti. Pitti's just gained the position, obviously. Nico Bastian was waiting to rejoin. We can see the yellow and blue Ferrari coming through. So this is absolutely fast and furious to finish. First to second, Alex Riberas to his Team WRT teammate will be around 10-12 seconds at the moment. It's the battle for fourth that's keeping us super, super interested. 10.3 seconds, absolute status quo between first and second. Simon Gachet making it 3 Audis in the top 3. The car 66 stage shot horse, 4 Audis in the top 4, but there is the challenge from behind. Nico Jamin, there he is in the 87 Mercedes, trying at least to get up to 4th place. Don't forget, this was a car that started some way down the grid in 12th position, so Dennis Bulasov kicked it off, and Nico Jamin, the driver who should have handed over his car in the lead yesterday, pulled to the side of the circuit with an electrical problem, and again showing what could have been. It's been a fantastic performance from the ACO ASP, number 87 Mercedes. But the clock is counting down. He still hasn't made that move to move up into 4th place, hanging on in there behind Stein Schotthorst. And the 90 Mercedes did get going all over again, but the clock is not his friend at the moment. I'm afraid he is probably going to finish in 15th place. And the incident, though, between his car, number 90, and the 54 Jaguar of Alex Fontana, we saw at turn 14 and 15, is under investigation. I'm afraid that comes as no surprise, but that will happen after the race. We're too close to the finish. You can see 2 minutes remaining until the checkered flag can be produced to be waved. One has to presume to the number 1 Audi of Alex Riberas. So let's have a look at the replay. Pushed wide out of 40, out of his 15. 14 fused to 15, and then Nico Bastian just going for a spin. The contact was best seen from the rear shot, and you can see him clattering out. But here is our race leader. Wonderful start to the race by Christopher Mies. Didn't take the lead. He gave it a good shot into the opening corner, but kept it right at the sharp end of the field behind the 88 Mercedes. A lovely, tidy early pit stop for the Team WRT crew, and really for Alex Riberas, he's just been able to stroke away in the lead of the race. So for Thierry Tassin and Vincent Vos up on the Team WRT pit balcony, they'll be passing sweet messages to the number 1 Audi racer. Christopher Mies, who brought it home yesterday, but only by 0.6 of a second ahead of the 88 Mercedes, is able to watch in a far more relaxed manner than Riberas, his teammate, could manage yesterday. This time Riberas is finishing the race, but he has that 10-second cushion, which in GT3 racing is very comfortable indeed. The Lamborghini you see in the mix there is not in the mix. It had that puncture very early on, had been running very safely in 4th place. In fact, all 3 of the Grasser Racing Team Lamborghinis had punctures through the course of the race. For Marco Bortolotti and Christian Engelhardt, who's bringing it home, it really is a case of what could have been. But for Simon Gachet, up in 3rd place, building on a fantastic stint from Christopher Haas, this looks like it's going to be a top finish for the Sansalot Racing crew. Their best so far this season is a 7th place. They've done that twice, but heading to 3rd place overall. There's the 4th place battle. 60 Sting, still Stein Schotthorst in behind. Still behind is the 87 car. It looks though 5th place is as high as the Mercedes will finish in what will be a clean sweep for the Audis. So the clock is nearly ticked around to the top of the clock after 1 hour of racing, and it's going to be a 1-2 for the Belgian Audi Club Team WRT. RT team with Alex Riberas ahead of Will Stevens. Quite a gap between them, but a big helping of points. So sweeping around to the end of the final lap. Well, on to the final lap we go, of course, with the race leader, Alex Riberas. 10.5 seconds clear, so we got to the end of the clock, but just starting the final lap in time to knit one more in. Number 38 lap. Yesterday managed 37, and today they're going to get 38 laps in. Yesterday we went into the evening. Today it's mid-afternoon here on the Adriatic coast of Italy at the Misano World Circuit. Packed agenda of racing, and for Belgian Audi Club Team WRT, you feel quite a celebration will be coming their way tonight, because not just taking 2 wins in 2 days, but a 1-2 will really boost their hopes in all of the various championships in the Blancpain GT Series. Certainly for the Sprint Cup, it's going to give them a massive boost. One hour of racing completed. The investigation for the incident between car number 90 Nico Bastian and car number 54 the Jaguar that clattered into his door, Alex Fontana. That will be investigated after the race, but that affects not the driver who is leading around now, Alex Riberas, right towards the end of the race. Here he goes out of 14 through 15, only 16 corners, and this is the last corner of the last lap of the race. Alex Riberas building on an excellent first stint by Christian Meets. There is the checkered flag. He swings across to meet it. Van Savos refuses to clap until the car has crossed the finish line. Now he can enjoy that. And for Will Stevens and Dries van Tor, second place will make up for their retirement yesterday. There they come across the line. The third place does go to Simon Gachet, the white, yellow and blue Audi crossing the line, and Steinschott Horse in the Attempter Racing Audi number 66 just manages to hold off Nico Jamin. And then another Audi number 17 just coming around the final corner, being chased by Loris Hazeman, so at least the Lamborghini gets up for the points for 7th place overall, very close behind. But for Leonard in the 17 car, yet more points towards the championship challenge. And here comes the car that's going to finish in 9th place overall. But that, importantly, is victory in the Pro-Am class. There it is for Neil Stevenart, the gold nose, just ahead of Michael Meadows with the front end of the car. The damage done by his teammate really not helping him. But he brought it through to the finish in 10th place. So for the 88 ACA ASP crew, they must be thinking, what do we need to do to win this race? But some fantastic action out on the circuit. You really have to feel for the Grasser team, for the punctures that struck them. Every single one of their 3 cars came in with punctures, some from contact, and I think in the case of Mirko Bortolotti, just simply bad luck out on the circuit. So plenty to talk about, some brilliant racing around the circuit here at Misano. Not terribly easy to overtake, but that meant you just had to plan it, maybe for several laps. Turn 8 was exciting, and certainly the marshals at some of the points around the circuit. Those that were out at turns 12, 13 and 14 saw so much overtaking action, and also so many near overtakes, and a little bit of contact as well, which may lead to a few conversations after the race. Certainly the investigation is forthcoming for the contact between the Jaguar number 54 and the number 90 Nico Bastian driven ACA ASP car. But as always, the race winner will cruise in slowly, savouring the moment. Started the race yesterday, Alex Riberas from the front row, came through to victory, finished by Christian Meets. Today, of course, the drivers run in the reverse order. It was Christopher who tried to take a bid from third, try and take the lead at the opening corner. Didn't quite happen, but he soon got up into second place. And then with problems hitting the 88 Mercedes when Raffaele Marciello hit the curb, damaged the front corner of the car, that really put the advantage in the number 1 Audi camp. And it's safe to say that Alex Riberas did a fantastic job to complete their hours racing and bring it home for a 1-2 for the Belgian Audi Club Team WRT. And third place, a third Audi, but this one from Sansalot Racing. Simon Gachet, there he is, 003 on the windscreen for the 25 Audi. They too will be truly delighted with their run through to third place. Best result for that duo before was, as I said, to 7th place. So a big step up for Sansalot Racing. You can hear the applause. Pat the car, pat the roof, the number 1 Audi, the one with the red flashes. Yes, that's been really quite a weekend for them here on the Adriatic coast of Italy at the Misano World Circuit. So plenty of applause from the mechanics and the engineers down there. And a big smile, you can be sure, under the helmet of Alex Riberas. Attempto Racing really enjoying their switch. They took 4th place overall. Don't forget a late move. There's Will Stevens taking his helmet off. He came home in 2nd place. He was down 10 seconds, but in fact, I think in that second stint, he didn't lose any ground at all to the race-leading car. Dries van Tor in the background. Didn't get to finish yesterday, points for second today, so that's a big boost for their championship hopes. High fives all round. A bit of cloud coming into the sky, but it's been a fabulous weekend here. Christian Mies going past, a well done mate from our man, but John Watson has quickly hot-footed from the commentary box to go down to Parc Fermé, where he's caught up with our race winners.
Christopher, fantastic result. Great job by you. But when you saw the 88 Mercedes clobber the curb and turn 15, you must have thought it was your birthday.
Well, you don't hope for this, you know. You want to have it clean and fair. Obviously, it took the curb a bit too much on the inside, and it ripped off the half, the splitter, the curb, and everything, and it flew into my car. I didn't know if my car was damaged as well. Then I saw he was struggling a lot with understeer, which is quite obvious why. And I couldn't make a good move going into turn 8 and pull a gap a little bit before the pit stops. The boys did a really, really good pit stop. I mean, fastest of all, I think. And yeah, Alex just had to bring it home. He did no mistake, and we are on the top spot again.
You're a little terrier really behind the wheel, aren't you?
I'm trying to, you know, I'm small, like the small dogs, you know, we have to bite. No, at the start, you know, Marcello was pulling away a little bit. Then I started to catch him, and I think he felt some pressure. That's why he probably did the mistake. So it's always the key to not give up, to put pressure on the guy in front and hope for a mistake.
Good. Alex, come in. Great job bringing the car home, 10-second advantage.
Oh, it was such a tough race. I had to defend the whole time, blocking the door, you know. Thanks to this guy for the amazing first thing he did. You know, we were struggling throughout the season with the driver change, so today we knew that would be the deciding factor. So I think we had the fastest pit stop, and the driver change was finally perfect. So yeah, very good teamwork. I think this weekend has been just perfect, good for the championship as well. And yeah, I think this championship is all about maximizing your opportunities, and that's what we did this weekend.
Excellent job, well done.
Thank you.
Well, happy days from yesterday?
Yeah, better for sure. We always knew we would fight our way through to a good position. Obviously some cars in front had a problem in the first stint, so we had to capitalise on that, but again we did a great pit stop, and yeah, I think second was the maximum we could get today.
Okay, Dries, looked like you struggled a little bit in your opening stint.
Yeah, I mean we've been struggling mainly the whole weekend. It's not been our best weekend. I mean, we're happy to be on the podium, but that's to be P2, but that's not what we want. We want to win races, and we have to work harder to make sure we can get there. And yeah, you know, we're struggling a little bit with actually the handling of the car and the feeling we had this weekend. But I mean, P2, coming out of P2, out of retirement yesterday, I think it's a good comeback. But you know, we want more, so we have to work harder.
Second place, well done.
So many teams will be delighted with second place, but you can sense the frustration for drivers who want to win. But second place it was for the number 2 Audi. But victory for the teammates, Alex Riberas and Christian Mies, ahead of Will Stevens and Dries van Tor. Simon Gachet and Christopher Haas, by far their best performance for Sansalot Racing. Third place today, ahead of Stein Schotthorst and Kelvin van der Linde, who just resisted the charging Mercedes. Nico Jaman trying to finish the job after Dennis Bulatov started it off. Stuart Leonard and Sheldon van der Linde taking 6th. Loris Hatemans and Franck Pereira, best place of the Lamborghinis. All three of them, I just want to reiterate, picked up punctures in this race. Norbert Seidler, Stefan Ortelli in the mix in their Lexus, but then Neil Stevenart bringing home the Audi to win, 26 Audi to win the Pro-Am class after Marcos Winkelhout had such a good start to the race. Eventually 10th place for a car that could have won, second yesterday, but only 10th today after the damage by Raffaele Marcello. Michael Meadows brought it home in 10th. And all but 2 of the 22 starters made it to the finish. Obviously, we lost the Bentley early in the race when it got it wrong out of the final corner and spun into the pit wall, and we saw the 14 Lexus pulling over as well. But just some fantastic racing up and down the order. Just want to reiterate, of course, Pro-Am honours went to the car in 9th place overall with Neil Stevenart, and Silver Cup honours went to Nico Jaman and Dennis Bulatov on his Sprint Cup debut in 5th place overall. That's the Mechanics Trophy going off, don't worry. They look nice and fresh. That's because they haven't been out racing for an hour around the circuit, but great that they get an award or 2 as well.
Momento della classifica overall, ovvero
And now for all these drivers, first chance to relax. Obviously those that got out halfway through, they've had a little bit of a chance, but some fantastic performances and some really great overtakes through the course of the hour of action. And look, Alex Riberas and Christopher Mies didn't just win the race, they've gone to the top of the championship, and in a championship as tight as this, to be sitting on a 23-point lead just shows consistency absolutely is key for success. And the fact they've had a third, 2 seconds and 2 firsts in 6 starts is the reason they're at the top of the pile. Can anybody challenge them at the future rounds? Most certainly they can. It's small margins. And there it is in the overall GT Series, obviously combined with the endurance race. They're at the top of that pile as well. Dries Van Tor sitting behind them, and Raffaele Marciello will be ruining the lost points today because that's dropped him down to 3rd place overall. And here are the top 3 finishers, and Christopher Mies coming out behind Alex Riberas. They'll go to the top step. Car number 25, of course, finished in that 3rd position, Simon Gasset and Christopher Haas. So just to reiterate, the top step, Alex Riberas and Christian Mies. The 2nd step, Dries Van Tor and Will Stevenson. The 3rd step, closest to us in the white and blue overalls, the Sansalot races, Simon Gasset and Christopher Haas. For Belgian Audi Club, Team WRT, the top 2 steps for them, and for Audi as well. The top 3 steps, in fact, the top 4 finishers. So a really good day for the team with the interlocked ovals.
Yes, it was a day in which well, a weekend, in fact, when they dominated. In fact, Christopher Mies and Alex Riberas winning on Saturday evening, winning again here in the heat and the sunlight of Sunday afternoon. So a pretty happy weekend for WRT in particular. And it's always what might have been, what could have been. So many people, so many stories, a lot of it self-inflicted.
Entirely so. It's not just pace you need precision as well. Precision in every single aspect, including, of course, the pit stops at which Team WRT is so strong. So CEO and founder of the SRO Group, Stefan Rattel, out on the grid, out onto the podium, gives the winners checks. The first 3 finishers all going with a healthy contribution towards, I would hope, a good meal and a nice drink this evening for the mechanics as well. But the drivers will definitely celebrate, and for 2 wins for Christopher Mies and Alex Riberas. It's been a fantastic weekend for them.
Not of us my restaurant or wine list of choice.
You're a canny man, John Watson. You're a canny man. So some more podiums to follow, but Stefan Rattel's given out those big checks to the guys up on the top 3 finishers, and now they can relax, because yesterday we had the race going into the evening, but they knew all along, particularly those that didn't finish the first race, they had to deliver today. And for Will Stevens and Dries Van Tor, I think a bit of pressure off their shoulders.
Yeah, I mean, Will did a great job, having had the car in the opening stint driven by Dries Van Tor, who I did mention, ask him, was there a problem, and it just looked he didn't have the pace.
Well, fantastic conditions. Now the Silver Cup, Nico Bastian and Jack Manchester will have lost a few points with that late spin, but they're sitting on a tidy advantage ahead of Korniev and Atuev, who didn't finish right towards the end of the race. We saw them, well, they did, but they lost ground. They came in for an extra pit stop. Andrew Watson, Lucas Morais, not really in the ballpark today, but they would have picked up another useful handful of points. Alessio Piccarello not here this weekend, so falling down. But for Jack Manchester and Nico Bastian, we saw yesterday they can lead races outright. And there we are. That was the result in this race. The 87 Mercedes ahead of the Stuart Leonard. Won in the Silver Cup, and third place the Alex Fontana Mikkel Grenier Jaguar may yet be changed, because of course there was an investigation because of the body clash that we had. That might have been after you left the commentary box.
I think it had gone in the booth.
But it's going to happen after the race, John.
We saw the clash between the 2 cars in turn 14.
So when it comes to the world of Pro-Am, it's the guys on the top step who have the biggest smiles. Neil Stevenart followed out by Marcus Winkelhock. 2 very good results for them. 2 wins in 2 days. So as the podium ceremony continues, let's take a look back at the highlights. Christopher Mies riding on board with him, going from 3rd to try and take 1st into the opening corner of the race, but the blue Mercedes of Raffaele Marciello did enough to hold on. Round the outside, Frank Pereira getting it right, but then unfortunately at the back of the field, the 19 Lamborghini getting it wrong. Not as wrong as, unfortunately, Aaron Taylor-Smith did in the Bentley, clouting the pit wall from the rear of the field. Bit of bodywork coming off. In fact, that was coming off Winkelhock's car. That is where the damage happened. But then a puncture from absolutely nowhere for the 63 Lamborghini. That was running fourth for Mirko Bortolotti. And that was to be the first of 3 punctures for the GRT Grasser Racing team. 1 for each of its cars. The number 14 Lexus, unfortunately, didn't make the finish. But there was the clout. The car leading the race, Raffaele Marcello, coming under pressure from Christopher Mies. That was turn 15. You could see the damage to the car, and then further damage, bit of contact, unfortunately, with the 82 Lamborghini, which led to the puncture for that. That was the second of the 3 punctures, but a nice clean pit stop. Christopher Mies handed over to Alex Riberas back into the lead of the race, and then it was a big struggle. We thought Marcello should have come in sooner with that damaged car. When Michael Meadows took it over, there was no chance of him going forward. So much understeer, broken front splitter on the way forward through the field. 87, Nico Jamin making the moves that made Denis Bulatov very happy indeed. Then a little bit of a rubbing down at the back between the Jaguar and the Lexus. Teammates don't forget, and super close. Michael Meadows trying to hang on. Oh, there is really a bit of a kiss from the number 50 for Jaguar, Alex Fontana. That wasn't the last contact he'd have. Because later in the race there was the contact right there that led the number 90 Nico Bastian Mercedes to go into a big spin out of turn 15. Unhappiness from Jack Manchester down there, his teammate, but sweeping through the final corner, 10 seconds to the good. Christopher Mies started, Alex Riberas brought it home. 2 wins in 2 days. No wonder they're so delighted on the pit wall for Team WRT.